Pow, 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 pow. Hello. Hello. Ora! Ora! Hiya! Ora, 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 ora. Muda. Muda da. Uh. Uh. Jojo. Ora. Ura! Hello, Batuhan Derman. Sorry, I was gonna make JoJo noises during the entire beginning. Nani? Nandayo? Holy shit! Ura! 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 Where the fuck did I put my headband? I had a headband. I don't know where I put it. Shit. Oh, there it is. I found the headband. Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah. Also, sorry, I'm 30 minutes later, so I was actually just asleep. I woke up at 7 a.m., got Paprika uploading to all the different sources, and did my morning routine, my sunlight, my wakey uppy, and all that jazz. And then I came back in and I did the thumbnail for Paprika, which took a while because I didn't know what to do, and I had to rearrange some parts of it to make it work so that the logo and the title was in the right place and that it felt kind of right. And then I made a version of it that it was the Retro Monday Overdrive thing with the Blockbuster logo, and that felt okay. It didn't feel wrong. It felt okay, but it didn't fit quite right. So I cut that all out and I redid the whole thing. I was like, no, this is just the movie itself and my face on it, and that's the whole thing. And bam, Paprika's up and running, and people are beginning to watch it and find out and comment upon it, and that's groovy. That's groovy and good. Finally, Paprika is up, which is awesome. I did the poll for movies a while ago and never got around to it because I'm a fool, mostly, and because I've been changing everything. I've been doing the chaos thing, you know? And people are freaking out in various ways, and I'm fully not freaking out. This is totally understandable and normal on my end, and everything's going really well as far as I'm concerned. Others are really freaked. They're like, the video didn't come out within like 1 day. It's like, okay, so what? The video's gonna last for fucking ever. Give me a couple days to put some more effort into it. Jesus, I understand that it's on schedule, but like, I'm the one who made the schedule, so I'm fully okay with breaking it. I don't give a shit. Anyway, this is all sort of neither here nor there, and you can tell that I just woke up, or re-woke up, because I'm sort of halfway in between reality and dreaming. And that's fine, but we'll move toward reality. As we do, I don't have a poll yet for today, so let me do a stupid search and let me find something fun. Yeah, that's what I want. I should really like that. I'm gonna grab it right now. It's sort of similar to something that we did before, but also quite different. Hi, Caden1578. Hello. Hola. Let me get a polly running really quick, and then I'll get this out to you. Poll.ly. Pow, pow, pow. I really like Polly as a tool. It's very useful as far as I'm concerned. So T, your question, pow, and then I will say, park in Utah. Zion National Park, Utah. Pow. I don't know if this will be the kind of poll where people will vote on each other's stuff. I don't really care. I'm just going to put it up and today's polly. Pow. It's sort of similar to the what's the best country to live in sort of poll, but it's different. This is more specific, and I'd be okay with words like home or similar, more ethereal ideas, if you know what I mean. I don't really need it to be necessarily a specific place, but I wanna engage the thought process at least around what places are good places. Because, you know, what places are good places. Hi, Willie. I got some people in. Got no new answers. Maybe a bad question. I don't know. I just don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Who can say? Man Meat by Chad Cockman is Chad Cockman's favorite place on Earth. Cool. Rad. Fucking man meat, dude. What about manatee meat? Manatee meat is probably pretty good. Fucking manatees. Did you mean to put Tiabu's First Wash as the title on your Paprika video? Yeah. Yeah. It's a pun on First Watch. So, and then tea, you do multiple washes of tea. I also didn't. Pow! What else was I going to call it? I was going to call it, I might have called it like First Look, which is what I called the premiere video. That's kind of shitty. It doesn't work as well. First Wash kind of works, I think. I think that makes some sense. But yeah, that's the intent. Hi, Kikuri. 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 Oh shit, I didn't even know that the music in Paprika is by Susumu Hirasawa, Berserk's music composer. I was actually going to mention that. That's so funny because during watching the film, I'll just respond to the thing. That's so funny because during watching the film I was like, wow, that really sounds like the like sort of Berserk soundtrack that's there in the background. Whoa. Okay, so that's why it tickled something in the back of my head. Wondering why the soundtrack reminded me so seriously of Berserk. Hello, Hixar. How are we today? How are we feeling like an integrated human being? Feeling like people? Everybody here feeling like people? Doing the people dance? That's good. I'm glad. Pretty much. All right, great. Home, my mind when I am fantasizing about my future is your favorite place on Earth. I like that. I like that a lot. Not a physical place, but a mental one. And of course, Man Meat by Chad Cockman. Yeah, of course. Ken's House of Pancakes. The sea, says Kikuri Rinon. I like that a lot too. Being near the ocean is powerful. We're very, it does something to us. The ocean is what changed my father's life pretty dramatically. I'm jealous of one thing and mad about another, so mixed emotions today. Any desire to share or just feeling it out? You certainly don't have to, but you know, I'm just sitting here doing nothing. I might as well talk about your problems. Yes, give me problems so that I can make content out of them. Content out of your problems. That is sort of the the way that things go nowadays, isn't it? It's like, oh, you've got problems? You've got shit that's wrong with you? Holy shit, you should be taking Instagram pictures about that stuff, man. You could get really famous around the fact that you're an amputee, or around the fact that you have a genetic anomaly, or you're miserable all the time, or your nose fell off, or whatever the fuck is going on. It's like, just make content about it and become rich. God damn. Fuck. Oh no. The game you don't play is getting a Dirty Pair collab, but it's JP only. What the fuck? You can't dream while I'm watching Paprika. Stream while I'm watching Paprika. Yes, I can. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I exist on the internet, bitch. I exist in the collective great ethereal dream. The fuck are you talking about? I can do what I please. Wait. Sorry, it's on a separate channel. Who cares? I definitely get the jealousy there now that you've explained it, Kikuri. A Dragon Quest collab that you don't care about, and then a Dirty Pair collab, but it's a Japanese-only game. Fuck! Damn it! God, why do they hate you? You know, they did this to spite you in particular. the giant corporations deciding how to release these products. They were like, you know, who we're really gonna fuck over today? With that Kikuri person, we're really gonna fuck them over today. That's the idea. Fuck you, dude. Absolutely fuck you. Well, I think the thing to do is to go just go watch Dirty Pair. That'd be pretty good. Underwater, says June. I like being underwater too. Dad says your walls. Oh no. Oh god. Oh no. That's very scary. I'd rather you weren't in my walls staring out watching me, Dad. Fuck. Fuck, man. Get the fuck out of my walls, man. My Couch by Lazy Fuck? Yeah, I mean, for sure. For definite. Hi, probably an irrelevant question, but have you finished Elden Ring? I haven't picked Elden Ring back up since the last stream. I haven't opened it. And part of the reason is because I had to stream it, and I wanted to stream it. I'll have to pick it back up, man. I don't know. I haven't been in a gaming mindset. I haven't played games, actually, in a while. I haven't done any gaming for a while. The last thing that I played was I played through all of Katana Zero, and then I played through it again, I think, and then I was done. Because I had gotten pretty addicted to Slay the Spire, and pretty solidly into Slay the Spire. I was like, okay, this is fun, but I was wasting a ton of time with it. And then I played Katana Zero, and it blew my mind a little bit, and I just left gaming behind for a little bit. I've been a little bit more focused on the real-world game thing. Been really focused on that. And that's not to say that gaming isn't super useful. I think gaming is spectacular and incredibly useful. But I've been really focused on this real-world game, and on increasing my character stats in this real-world game. Which is to say, you can up your intelligence by reading books. You can up your charisma by speaking to people. You can up your dexterity by drawing and writing and moving and shifting and dancing. And you can fully and obviously up your strength by eating enough and lifting heavy. Hi, Flowerless. Hello. What's up? So I've been playing the real life game, and I've been gathering information and incorporating it into my body and into my mind, and making myself better. And I haven't been gathering that information from gaming because, as useful as it is, it's not immediately useful. It's like useful down the pathway a little bit. Like I don't know if I would gain immediately from Elden Ring, but it's a good thing that you bring it up, because it's probably worthwhile to go and see if I reread Elden Ring, if I read it differently. Are you winning, son? In the great cosmic game of life? Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think I'm doing great. Yes. I'll tell you in a second. I gotta blow my nose. At the life game, yeah. Yes. I absolutely believe that I am winning at the life game, as far as I'm concerned. Now, the life game isn't really a winning game, you know? It's like Dungeons and Dragons, where the goal isn't really to win, it's to survive and to continue and to get stronger and to learn and to grow and to socialize and all those things. Don't forget to pray to the goddess of lust in real life too. May come in handy, just don't make a binding pact. Good point. Let me swipe like 5 profiles on Tinder so that it keeps me awake in the algorithm. That is one thing that I've been doing. Ooh, you're cute. You're not. You're not. You're not. You're a bot. You're very cute. Holy shit. Okay. You're not. You're not. You're not. You are not cute at all. You are cute, but you've got ugly trappings. No. No. You're a monster. Cute, but a monster. Cute. Oh, also cute. Okay, and that'll be it. Done! I don't really tune into your stream that often, not because I don't enjoy, but because it's like 2 a.m. right now, and I just joined because I can't sleep. I'll get my finals results tomorrow. I understand. That anxiety that'll keep you up is rough as balls. I will say this. Your sleep is very important, and if you have the opportunity to lay down and not sleep, you should do so. And what I would recommend is this piece of, a particular piece of Yoga Nidra, which is guided meditation. It's really, really simple. This is for non-sleep deep rest, NSDR. Which is to say, when you cannot sleep, this is a way to allow your body and mind to get into a state of rest that will get you most of the qualities of sleep without being forced, you know? So I'll just drop this video. Anybody else who wants a very useful tool, go ahead and grab that video as well. Speaking of tools, I don't know, I think I might have mentioned this in a previous video, but I'm telling everybody about it, and I'm telling everybody about it as much as I can, because it's really quite useful. There's a thing called the physiological sigh, S-I-G-H. I learned this from Huberman. And it's a very useful tool for altering and for bringing your autonomic nervous system down, for bringing your fight or flight down. And the tool is this. You take 2 nice solid inhales through the nose and 1 exhale through the mouth. And you only need to do this 1 to 3 times, really. But it looks like this. Oh, that is immediate and wonderful. Fuck. It's like the same degree of change that I get from a few solid minutes of deep breathing. Like an immediate rebalancing of my oxygen and CO2 levels. Just really good. Really good. So I recommend that anybody who's watching go ahead and do that. 2 nice sharp inhales. Some humans are indeed nocturnal. Oh, that's fucking interesting. That sucks for them. You know what's true though? Well, that's very interesting. I don't know though. What else is interesting is what the WHO has done with nighttime shift work. Any type of graveyard or nighttime shift work is now classified by the World Health Organization as a probable carcinogen. Ha! Just shift work, not sleeping at the right time, causes cancer. Sleep. Do it a lot. It's really important. Yeah. Not many, majority are still influenced. Okay, I would believe that. I would buy definitely that there are weird outliers whose circadian rhythm is like flipped. That's crazy. That's really interesting. Really, really, truly very interesting. Okay, so I've got tea, which, by the way, my tea at the moment is yerba. I'm trying it for the next week or 2. basically, I tried. I'll show you in a sec. I see you build a wit, and I'll talk about it in a sec. I think you're correct. I think your supposition is correct. So I tried this. This is guayaki. I don't have any reference or real reason to shield a brand. It's just that this particular brand, they make these sparkling ones that have no sugar in them. They have no nothing, no fake sugar either. It's sparkling purified water, organic brewed yerba mate, lime juice concentrate, lime extract, lemon natural flavor, and caffeine, and that's what's in it, which is quite nice, quite good. Because I don't want, you get the energy drink ones and they've got 100 grams of sugar in them. Not actually, but enough to be fucky. And so I didn't want those, and I wanted to try yerba, and I tried it, and I quite like it. It's different from green tea, and it doesn't have the L-theanine. It's not the same at all, but I don't dislike it at all, and I like the feel of it. What? Oh, fuck. Neurobiology... yerba. So one thing that's interesting about caffeine is that caffeine actually upregulates your dopamine expression, and then yerba mate does a few things. One of the things is that it stimulates mitochondriogenesis and some expression of certain other genes, and there's a neuroprotective component in yerba and a couple of other components that are just really quite useful as a source of caffeine, which is pretty cool. So I got this stuff, and these are not cheap comparatively. They're like $1 plus per can, and that's not going to last. I'm not going to do that for a while. So when I looked, I was like, can I just buy some yerba? Can I buy some yerba leaves and just brew them as tea? Yes, it's like $8 for a pound bag of yerba. Done. So I bought a pound bag of yerba, and I've been making tea out of it. This is day 2. Day 1 was yesterday, and we watched Paprika, and that went pretty well. It went really well. But there were some other things still floating around in my system yesterday. Oh, I don't know. But I've been doing that, and I'm going to start mixing in some green tea because it doesn't taste very good. Mix in some green tea and maybe some mint or something, some mint tea, and make myself a blend based on yerba and shade-grown dark green tea or something like that, some other source for L-theanine, and maybe I can accomplish a sort of full nootropic stack in a cup of tea. That would be very cool. Okay, back to talking to people. Bill DeWitt says my current natural sleep schedule is like noon to 4 a.m., but it's probably because I don't get much light in the morning. Yeah, probably. It's probably because you don't get much light in the morning, and probably because you wake up at noon and you continue to do so. If you were to forcibly force yourself to awaken at 9, for example, for a week, you'd probably wake around 9 afterward. Like, if you just forced yourself for a short period of time to wake at a different cycle and slip your cycle into a different direction, that would probably work. But I'm not going to say that you should necessarily, because whatever's working for you is working for you. I will say that we're pretty certain that sleep that you get right around midnight and before midnight does something different to your brain and is more useful. But I don't know. Speaking of sleep, I found some stuff that works really well for sleep. And I've only tried it once, and it worked really, really well. But the reason that I tried it is because scientists boys were talking about how you should try it. Specifically, Dr. Matthew Walker. Professor Matt Walker, PhD. He's a neuroscientist at Cal Berkeley, who is focused on sleep. He's got a TED Talk about fucking sleep, which is amazing. He starts off the TED Talk with men who sleep less than 6 hours a night have significantly smaller testicles than men who sleep 8 hours a night. So that's something interesting. And various other things. So let me find his TED Talk. So I'll drop that into the comments or into the chat so that you can just use it. Pow. Bam. There's Matt Walker. That's the TED Talk on sleep. Very important. One of the things that he talks about are a couple of substances that help with sleep. First off, you don't want to take melatonin supplements directly. They fuck you. They absolutely fuck you. If anybody watching this is currently taking melatonin, stop. Stop taking it. The effective dose for melatonin is 100 to 300 micrograms. The actual dose that you find in melatonin capsules is 1 to 10 milligrams, so 1,000 micrograms. You're murdering your endocrine system if you're taking that stuff. And I've taken it, and it murders my endocrine system. I've also taken the very low dose melatonin as well. I've taken the 100 micrograms or 300 micrograms, and that has worked better for me, and it's something to seek out if you must have melatonin, but it doesn't, it's not good for you. It messes with your natural cycle, and it will mess with you continuously. But I found a couple of things, and these are things recommended by Mr. Science Boy, and they are, you eat a whole kiwi fruit with the skin on it. I like kiwi fruits with the skin on them. I bought a pack of the baby ones, and I ate one last night. And then you drink like a shot's worth, like an ounce or so, of tart cherry juice. Pure tart cherry juice. And I did that, and then last night I was like getting the editing just done for Paprika so that I could click render and then go to sleep, and I was literally fading out of consciousness as I did it. Chemically fading out of consciousness. I've never felt anything quite like it. I zonked out to sleep, bam, gone like a light, and I woke up, I went to bed at like midnight, and I was up at like 7:15, raring to go, just like done, sleep cycle finished, ready to roll. So that's one tiny single day anecdotal piece of evidence, but goddamn, whatever I did last night made me sleep great. So tart cherry juice seems like the shit. Kiwi fruit, I don't know, seems like the shit. My room gets 1 hour of natural sunlight due to the angle at which it lies from about 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Okay, fair enough. And Buildwit says, I tried to do that about a month ago, and I was basically dead for the week. Yeah, any core shift to your sleep schedule will kill you. Sorry. Currently, I don't need to be awake for the morning, so I'm happy with it for now. Then very well. If you're happy with it, then fine. I wonder if that's why fruits in general are common in desserts. I think it's just because we like fruit. I don't think it's for sleep. I don't think we're that smart. I think we're dumb. I think it's because we like fruit a lot. Because it's sugary and sweet. Flowerless says, the pandemic fucked my sleep habit real bad. I only realized it when the school began after a year and a half. Yeah, back to a schedule. You get back to a schedule and you realize you're boned. Marvel Avengers writes, shit, which I think was right after I said the stuff about melatonin. So I'm going to assume that means that you're taking a bunch of melatonin. You're like, no, god damn it, I need that stuff. L-theanine. Theanine, the active ingredient in chamomile is useful. I don't take it, but it's very useful to a lot of people, is chamomile tea. And apparently tart cherry juice and kiwi fruit. What the fuck is tart cherry juice? What is in it? Tart cherry juice. Sleep. Why? Oh, it contains tryptophan and a small amount of melatonin. But it's in a natural form. Oh. Statistically significant pre to post treatment improvements on all sleep variables. When compared to placebo, the study beverage, which was cherry juice, produced significant reductions in insomnia severity, the minutes awake after sleep onset. No improvements were observed for sleep latency, total sleep time, or efficiency compared to the placebo. Effect sizes were moderate. Suggests that tart cherry juice has modest beneficial effects on sleep in older adults with insomnia, with effect sizes equal to or exceeding those observed in studies of valerian and in some but not all studies of melatonin. So there's solid evidence. There's solid evidence that that tart cherry juice can help to some extent. That's very interesting, and it's because it contains some tryptophan and some melatonin. That's really interesting. And there's evidence that shows that drinking it increases available melatonin in the body. But it does so through the pathway of through different pathways. Wow, interesting. Fascinating. What do you think about CBD oil for sleep or just in general? I don't mind it too much. We don't know that much about CBD oil, but in general, CBD seems to work really well for some people. So nice. It also seems so THC has interruptive qualities on sleep, which is why I need to quit weed. Actually, it prevents REM sleep. It prevents dreaming in a lot of ways. That's rough. That's bad. CBD doesn't seem to have that effect. So at the very least, it doesn't demolish your dreaming, and it certainly has some analgesic and pain relieving and relaxing properties. So I say go for it. Just don't go for it too much, but go for it. Go for the CBD stuff. It's good. It's good stuff. My dreams got more vivid when I stopped smoking. Yeah, that's a guarantee that will occur. It's odd that you actually had dreams at all while you were smoking weed. That's odd that you had them at all, because they get very, very suppressed. I generally don't remember my dreams at all, and have not since I started smoking. So that is to say, either I don't remember my dreams or I'm not having them. And I'm not quite sure which. Wow, yeah. Wow. It's like it's a problem. A whole half of myself isn't working properly, and it's because I spend too much time in dreaming when I'm awake, you might say. Blech. All right, that's yerba from yesterday. Blech. That's bad. You're having them. I'm a pretty heavy THC user, and while dreams are much harder to remember, I still have them. Very well. Happy to be wrong. Totally happy to be wrong about that. Don't mind that at all. I'd rather be dreaming. I mean, I would assume so, just because it's such a crucial process. The memory of them seems to be missing, and that might have to do with some underlying other issues. It might be it might be psychologically related as well, with things that I might just not be aware of and might have might not have dealt with yet. Traumas or fears or things misaligned. Often as far as I know, our minds will shield us from the memories of those dreams, unless you happen to wake mid-cycle and awaken while partially in dreaming. But I haven't had that experience for quite a while. Waking in dreaming hasn't happened for a bit. By the way, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting overall. Let me check the what's your favorite place list, see if anybody's my mind when fantasizing about my future. I like that. Your waltz, says Dad. Fuck off. My bed, very good. My room, the sea, in your mom. You don't want to be in my mom. I promise you don't. Much shade. Old bearing factory that is now a cultural center. What? I don't even know what bearing is. Bhering. Avocados? The chocolate bearing productos alimenticos? Fabrica Bearing in Brazil. I don't know, it could be any number of different things. My dreams tell me a lot about myself. According to one of them, I should not be trusted into zombie apocalypse after noping out and bailing out a window, leaving my teammates behind. Well, that's a readable dream if you'd like. All you need to do is read some Jung. well, the the question that's in there, my dreams tell me a lot about myself. According to one of them, I should not be trusted in a zombie apocalypse. That's not the dream. The dream is that you shouldn't be trusted. The dream is that you don't trust yourself and you're afraid that you'll betray your friends. Might be why you push friends away if you do. That would be my guess, Kikori. And that's a big reading into your world. I don't know, man, but dreams are articulate. Room was being overrun. I don't know. Sometimes you gotta run. Sometimes you gotta save yourself. It's a complex dream, and the emotional quality of that is the issue. They wanted to make a stand. I wanted to live. Well, that's the thing, man. You can't run from dragons in dreams. You can't run from monsters in dreams. When you run from monsters in dreams, they grow. When you turn away from problems in dreams, they grow, because dreams are a representation of the real world. And when you turn away from problems in the real world, they grow. And all your friends die. And if you had been with them, they might not have all died. Do you think the people in our dreams have cognizance? No, because they're just figments. And we know that they're just figments. The people in our waking dream seem to have cognizance. So, you seem to have cognizance. The physical people that I physically meet seem to have consciousness. There's the distinct possibility that I'm the only person on the planet and everybody else is an NPC. But if you believe down that pathway, then you run into some serious metaphysical walls and some shitty ones. And it's a pretty shitty way of thinking about the world. And I've met people who literally think that way, and they're awful to be around because they treat other people like garbage. It's like the absolute height of narcissism is to think that the people around you aren't people. And I've literally, as I said, I've literally met people like this. Beautiful young girl, 19 years old, something like that. Beautiful young, multifaceted, traveling all over the world Korean girl, talks about other people as being NPCs pretty frequently. And man, she treats other people like they're fucking NPCs pretty frequently. And it makes her a bitch. Makes her awful to be around. Totally overwhelms any like physical or emotional or mental beauty that she has. She's just a monster as far as I can tell. Because of the way that she thinks about other people and treats them. So sorry to jump in such a strange direction from your question, ya boy Mart, but that's where my mind goes. Do you think the people in our dreams have cognizance? Yes. My younger sister is like that, cares only for herself and no one else unless it benefits her. Yeah, people are like that. It seems to be a more rampant problem in the younger generations, which makes sense. They're given unlimited power. Oh, they have a cockpit, right? Their cockpit is their phone. They've got a mecha that they're born into, right? And they can run around and kill people with their mecha. All you have to do is walk around and say, oh, this person's a fucking bigot. Oh, this person's a fucking monster, and you've ruined a life, and you don't give a shit. No fucks given, man. Excelente. The way someone treats a service worker is a pretty clear indicator of who they really are. I solidly agree with that. I really agree with that. It's like, or treats people who are beneath them. Indeed, Nini. Want to know how someone is? Take them for a meal and have something go wrong with their order. Then you see the real them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or they start demanding that changes get made to the menu and that they're too special. Or they just don't thank the server or look them in the eye or talk to them. I see it in the gym pretty frequently. So there are, let me think. I'm thinking about their faces. I'm thinking about the humans. There are a few people at the gym who work as janitorial staff who are always sort of trudging around at the gym, pulling open trash cans and picking up the trash bags from them and putting them into a cart and cleaning up and washing windows in the gym and sweeping stuff up and doing the janitorial stuff. And I've done stuff like that. I've done work like that. I worked in a law library for a while, for a whole summer. And most of what I did in the law library was take carts of books around and put books back in their locations and shelve books and stuff, which was fantastic. At the law library that I was working at, they allowed me to just wear headphones because it was over the summer, right? So most of the people who were there were just prepping for exams, were law students prepping for the bar, or for their exams or for other things like that. And so I was allowed to wear headphones. And so during the entire summer, I read like 40 books. I read like 40 books because I just listened to audiobooks. I went and I found it's on the Pirate Bay. So this is a torrent. This is a steal. 100 sci-fi. Yes. Okay. There. These are all uploaded by Neil 1966 Hardy, top 100 sci-fi audiobooks. So it's well, I don't really want to post this part. So I'll do it this way. But this is a very cool thing to have for any of you who want books. Just remove all the spaces, okay? Just remove all the spaces, and that's very useful. Grab that, copy it, paste it into your browser, and remove all the spaces. That's the first of 4 torrents of the top 100 sci-fi audiobooks. And it starts with Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, Dune by Frank Herbert, Foundation by Asimov, Hitchhiker's Guide, 1984, Stranger in a Strange Land, Fahrenheit 451, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Starship Troopers, I, Robot, Neuromancer, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Ringworld, Rendezvous with Rama. Oh my god, Rendezvous with Rama is so cool! I forgot about that book. Wow! Hyperion by Dan Simmons is one of the most bonkers pieces of mythology I've ever read. It's a group of people on a ship and the fucking Shrike and the trees. The fucking electric trees. Oh my balls. Brave New World by Huxley. Oh, what a scary one to read nowadays. Fuck, man. Read 1984 by Orwell and then read Brave New World by Huxley. And you got a good picture of dystopia. Really great. H.G. Wells' Time Machine, Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, fantastic. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Heinlein, which is basically Dalos, the OVA. The War of the Worlds by Wells. The Forever War by Haldeman, good stuff. The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, very fun. Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, some of the best cyberpunk in existence. You gotta go read Snow Crash. The Moat in God's Eye by Niven and Pornell, which is about a really weird alien species. Fucking fantastic. Kikuri, you have your date later today, right? Everything prepared for. I actually canceled the date. I actually canceled the date with the girl because I went through her profile in our chat again and realized that I'm not interested in her and that to go on a date with her would be disingenuous to me and to her. I just don't find her intriguing. And part of the reason for that is because I found somebody who I do find genuinely intriguing and who I want to pursue something long-term with. And I might fail, but it's like the temptation to go on this easy date, because this would be an easy date, frankly. This girl is into me. It would be just very easy to go and hang out with her for a little while and escalate effectively and sort of re-lose my regained virginity, you know, because I haven't had sex in years. I could very easily regain that, you know, and I would be doing it by fucking somebody that I'm not that interested in, and that felt really wrong to me. After I took the I took LSD on Sunday, and that changed my perspective on some things. Again, I ironed some things out. Very low dose, by the way. Like, not a lot. A very low dose. To realign, to recombobulate more than to discombobulate. And it changed my perspective on what I want to pursue in the feminine, which is something that the first major trip right before Kill la Kill. I mean, if you go watch the Kill la Kill video, I'm like, I'm on my own thing about figuring out what the divine feminine is, and I'm going for it. It's interesting. And well, I've realigned what I think that should be for me. For me, how many UG, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, how many micrograms? Sunday I took 1 tab, so I took 100 approximately, which is not a small dose. I said a small dose. That's not a small dose. That's comparatively a small dose. Comparatively a small dose. While we're on this subject, what have been the most important epiphanies in your life? Integration with the shadow, and that epiphany stemmed from Devilman Crybaby and Jordan Peterson. Combination of the two. That was years ago. That was before I started this channel. Like right before. It was right when I started this channel, was as soon as I had integrated my shadow, essentially, and realized in the process that media and art can fully and materially and manifestedly alter a human being, like really can change a person. And so I had some serious ideas about that, and I wanted to get them out. What I actually did was I had these revelations about something that I called the simplex. I was smoking a lot of weed at the time, and I was using LSD pretty frequently, and I was using LSD at the time, and I had watched Devilman Crybaby relatively recently, and all these things just went click, 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 and I came up with this idea that I called the simplex. Simplectitude, simplexity, and it's a layered idea because simplex is a word that has real meanings in mathematics, but simple, complex, two things that are separate and opposites come together and they form one unified whole that is unified, and that's the magnetism idea as well. Side and side form oneness, form unitariness, and that's the simplex. That's the maneuver. And that's atoms, and that's that's protons, that's subatomic particles, because those have some interesting symplectical mindset or like attitudes toward them, and it's DNA linked in all of its binary pairing up forever. And it's all of the molecules that form us, and it's all of the organic compounds that are linked and chained, and it's cells merging with other cells to form grander entities of different and various cells, and it's mitochondria inside of cells, and it's all of the things layered up, and it's as we expressed in yesterday's film in Paprika, it's the masculine and the feminine coming together to form the one, the united, the individual, the child who wakes and stands and inhales the dreams of all of reality. But in Paprika, it's also dream and reality, or dream and wakefulness. Those are two things that, when merged, form a symplectical entity that's more complex. Anyway, I had all of these ideas, and I scribbled them on sheets of paper for hours, for days. I mean, I was in reverie. I was in a broken mental state, right? I had fallen apart. I'd torn apart my systems, and the process of writing all this down was rebuilding myself structuring my systems. Imagination and reality, yes. Dream and reality, fantasy and fiction, and reality and history. Yes, those sides of things. But I scribbled hundreds of pages on good paper, hundreds of pages, scribbled notes. And then I was like, fuck, I had this revelation built on Accelerando that fell into that was like, if I don't express these out, I have to express these out into the world. When you come to some conclusions that you think are really valuable, there's this urge to express. And so I bought a camera, and I put it up on a tripod, and I set it up in front of my dining room table, and I've got like 40 hours, and I still have the files, like 40 hours of myself sitting there stupidly talking to the camera with a bad microphone, like not even a microphone on me, just the camera microphone pointed at me, and talking through the pages that I had written, and like talking through what I thought was up with them and how they were working. And it's after that, as I was focused on that instead of being focused on my programming stuff, and as I moved in, and I can't remember how that lined up with when my dog died, but it was all part of the same process. It was part of that made me fall away, from programming more, and fall into and fall toward expression. And I started losing everything. In the search for this meaning. And money as a part of that. And eventually, that camera that I had purchased for the express purpose of recording myself, I eventually sold it to go and buy food. I sold the camera back. I sold it for most of what it was worth on eBay and shipped it to some guy, and got a few $100s from it. The most short-sighted thing that I've ever done, one of the most regretful ideas that I've ever done, is I bought a good camera, and I set it up, and I was doing stuff with it. Hold on, it says no data. Excellent connection. Okay. I bought this camera to do this thing, to do this purpose, and I took all these videos, and then I tossed it. Basically, I sold it, like Gifts to the Magi style, selling the thing that I really needed in order to get the thing that I didn't need, but I was desperate for. I sold it for food, you might say. Sold my eyes for food, you would say. Something like that. Sold my voice. And that was a dark moment there. That was a very dark moment. But eventually, with just a webcam, not with that camera, it took me years of working on this channel to get back to the point where I could purchase that camera again. And I purchased basically the same camera again. And I've had it for years now, and it's been the best investment to the channel that I've had. It's fantastic. But started with a webcam and began doing the recordings for Lane, the recordings for the initial bits of Legend of the Galactic Heroes and Batum and some of the other shows that I did at the start of the channel, because I came back around to the idea that creation and sharing was possible and viable and real. It was a tough idea to come to. But you ask, what have been the most important epiphanies in your life? That one was one. The epiphany there was that I'm not one person. I'm at least two. And more accurately, I'm a multitude. And I need to integrate those. I need to go and really find my shadow. Because I was too damned weak and too damned unwilling to cause harm to myself or others, but mostly to others. And too damned unwilling to step into pain. And too unwilling to deal. And it was Devilman Crybaby that really got me in tune with that. Half man, half devil, overwhelmed by impulse, uncontrolled, tears in his eyes. Unified for a goal, for a purpose, against an enemy. That did something to me. That's me, man. I contain multitudes. Walt Whitman. Exactly, it's Whitman. 100%. And I am a multitude is exactly what I've been talking about with my friend. I've mentioned this many times. He's someone who's still disintegrated. Which is to say, not integrated, disintegrated. Someone who's still many pieces, and he's racked by pain around it. Just totally torn by pain, by the fact that he's not in line, he's not unified, he's not structured or ordered or hierarchicalized, and he's started to grasp that. Started to really grasp that. And through the reflection of me as a mirror to him and my expressions of unity, and what it feels like and how it can be, he's started to move toward it. It's that revelation that I contain multitudes and always will, but I can comb the multitudes. You know, it's like your hair is all different individual hairs, different fibers, right? And if you don't fucking comb your hair, it just becomes a tangled mess. And that's kind of what happens when your brain, that it kind of happens to your brain too. It becomes a tangled mess. Your multitudes fall out of alignment and they point in different directions. And your anger is going this way, and your lust is going this way, and your desires are going this way, and your hatreds are going that way. And it's all mangled and mashed. And what you can do is you can really, truly, and it hurts to do it, just like combing through knotted hair hurts, and you're going to end up ripping some of it out as you go. There's no choice. You have to. But you can comb through your brain, and you can take all the multitudes and forcibly line them up. Line them up. Line them up. And it really works. And I've been doing, it's really interesting, and I'll mention this to you. I've been doing the same thing with my musculature, which is really cool. I'm really into foam rolling and instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization. IASTM, instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization, which is what you do when you're foam rolling or when you're massaging with something and you're moving muscle into a different alignment and pushing through it and breaking it apart a little bit and pushing through it. I really like that. I like it a lot. It's why I want to manufacture a solid glass bottle that's useful for that. There comes Nini asking about it, the bottle massager project. It's going. We're figuring out some things. Haven't gone and really done it yet, but soon. And I have to stop saying soon. I have to start doing. But I'm really into that, and something that I've been doing recently that I discovered it because I was in the shower and I was combing my hair, and I was combing deeper than my hair. I was combing the scalp, and what I found was that there was a whole bunch of my scalp that was rough. And it wasn't the surface, it was under the surface. It was the tiny musculature and the pathways of blood vessels, and the actual tissue of my scalp was not smooth. It was rough. And so I took the comb and I pushed hard and I combed through, and the next time I combed through it was smoother, and the next time I combed through it was smoother, and the next time I combed through it was smoother, until my whole head was smooth. And then I let the thing go down by the back of my neck, and I was like, oh shit, my neck is rough. And I went harder into the neck, and then my whole neck was smooth. And I was like, okay, well, what about my trap? What about the big meaty muscle here? Ah! It's all rough. It's all tight. It's all fibers locked into each other. It's all a mangled mess. It's all knots. Oh, shit. Comb. Ah! I've got, I don't know if it's even visible here. No, it doesn't look too bad. This tissue under here, I've torn apart, and it's really quite painful. That's my lat, which I've been working on. I worked on yesterday a lot. Extremely painful, but I tore through it with a comb over and over, and then massaged it with a massage gun, brrr, and went over it with a foam roller, and did a bunch of things. And the difference is that I couldn't do this with my left arm. Not here. I would end up going out here. So my one arm would come up straight, and my left arm would come up and go like this, because it didn't have the actual flexibility. It didn't have the actual flexibility to do it. The muscle was tightened, like, permanently, and your muscles can become tightened permanently. I'm dealing with this issue in my hamstrings because of sitting so much. My hamstrings are tight, and I'm probably gonna have to comb them. Probably gonna have to roll them out and comb them and massage gun them and fuck them over and stuff. But what I discovered is you can literally comb your entire musculature into alignment. Did it to all of my arms, the whole set of tissue. My whole hands, my fucking feet. Most painful thing that I've ever experienced is trying to do it to the soles of the feet. Fuck! Awful. But, as Nini says, intentional pressure on those aspects that are out of sorts and painful is hard but so rewarding. And that, Bissus, is something that I'll step back to and say an important revelation that you've had is the revelation that I had during the first of the recent acid trips. The one right before Kill la Kill, not the Kill la Kill one, the one right before that. And the revelation that I had was during foam rolling, because I started on the process of fixing this shoulder, which is part of the same process that I'm doing to fix this lat. And there's a whole bunch of this shoulder that was not correct. I mean, it was really not correct. And it was a big part of me that was out of alignment with my goals. My goals, for example, are to move as much weight as possible in the bench press. And if your shoulder isn't working, it's out of alignment with those goals. And what I discovered was the process of fixing that. And the process is something like this. Find the place that hurts the most. Push on it. Keep pushing in it until it hurts more than you can bear, and then push more. Push enough that you break. Find a wall and push against the wall hard enough that it breaks you. And then you break and become the wall. And now you're a wall. And you're one. And you're a walking wall, right? You're still yourself, just shattered and rebuilt. I don't know how to really put it together or how to visualize it exactly. But the process is find the thing that hurts the most, push on it until you break, and then you're free. And then it's gone. Because every time I would find this with the foam roller, I'd push up against a muscle, and I'd go, okay, fine. Ow! There's a knot there. What do I do? Well, I back away from it is what I want to do. I want to run away. Your body goes, no, and pulls away from it. No, none of that. Ow. It's like what happens when you touch a hot stove. It's reflex. It's, stay away. But sometimes pain is necessary. Not always, but sometimes. And so when you choose it and you know that the goal is worthwhile, you know that you have to get that fucking foam roller through your lat. You have to get that fucking foam roller through your body. And so you push on it. You go into the pain. You breathe and you face it. You go into it. And you push harder than you can bear. And then it sort of goes, whoop. It just sort of push, whoop. And then it's gone. And you sort of just forget that there was even a problem. It's like, why was I even doing that? Why did that even matter? And you roll the thing over and it just rolls back and forth and you're solid. It's like with a little kid. The kid's like, and you go, are you frustrated? And the kid goes, yes. He goes, that sucks. He's like, yes. Take a deep breath. Okay, I'm off. And the kid goes off and is playing and fully has forgotten the whole thing that they were stressed about or frustrated over or destroyed by. Completely forgotten. As soon as the problem is gone, you just go. You're just done. And that seems to be exactly right. Kikuri says, shame foam rolling won't work for some of my problems, if only it was that simple. I disagree. Now, I understand there are lots of problems, physical and mental, that you might have that foam rolling doesn't work for. But the process, find the thing that hurts, push on it until it doesn't. That works on everything as far as I can tell. It's seeking friction. It's what David Goggins does. So David Goggins is a motivational guy. Wrote a book called Can't Hurt Me that's sitting in my Amazon cart. And he was 300 pounds killing cockroaches for $1,000 a month, and he had this psychological revelation, this desire to hurt, and he started running. He started really running, and he made his moonshot goal. I'm going to become a Navy fucking SEAL. I'm going to become one of the baddest dudes on the planet, and he fucking did it. He fucking did it. And he's been doing the same sorts of things for forever. And what he's done is he's trained himself to seek friction, to seek pain, to seek harm, to seek the things that hurt him the most, and to go forward toward them, to continuously evolve by pushing himself against the absolute limits of his own being. And that's the thing. You can do the same thing with all of your issues. One of them is a bone-on-bone kneecap problem. Fuck, you have no cartilage? Your cartilage is gone? Man, how? What'd you do to your knee, Kikuri? How'd that fucking happen? And the other is related to my birth, and doctors have no idea how to fix it. So that doesn't give me any information. I'm intrigued by the bone-on-bone kneecap problem. What happened to your cartilage? There are surgeries that can happen with the bone-on-bone. Knee osteoarthritis, inflammation due to reduction of cartilage. Probably when younger, I had bad shoes that misaligned my walking. Wow, that's nuts. That's nuts. And non-surgical treatments in terms of collagen and supplementation and activity modification and moving and regular exercise hasn't done it for you? Fuck. Yeah, my dad had the surgery for his leg and now wishes he never had it. Fuck. Yeah, I hear that a lot from people who have those partial knee surgeries or similar. My torso one is the worst, to be fair. I nearly killed myself and my mother when I was in the womb. Is it a twisting? A spinal issue? It's obviously it's going to be too complicated for me to diagnose, and I'm not a fucking MD, so I'm just curious about your pain, Kikuri. Sorry. I'm really curious about people's suffering, because I think suffering is really important, and, well, curious about it. Because it matters. Oh, wow. My umbilical cord just at random started to wither and die and needed an emergency C-section. Wow. That's insane. That's crazy. Let me go and I'm gonna turn off my desktop audio for a second. Let me go and find something just for my own purposes. Continue talking, Kikori. I'm really intrigued. And the problem I have at the moment is where my navel is. Your tissue is messed up in the area? That area is very sensitive. Very sensitive. I've been figuring out a lot in that area, down to where the pubic bone connects and where all of the hip anatomy connects into the hips. Any pressure going upwards under the navel causes insane pain. In your abdominal wall? Yeah, that would be in your abdominal wall. That's really interesting. And I as you said, you've seen doctors and you don't know. They can't fix it. And will incapacitate me for days if it triggers. What the fuck? Right at the core of your being, man. Holy shit. Does breathing trigger it? Deep breathing? Because that's pressure on the inside of your navel, you know? I wonder if strengthening your abs, literally strengthening your abdominal musculature, would assist or harm. Because I would think it would assist. It would be like armor around that space that's vulnerable. Because there's something vulnerable in your umbilical cord area. I wonder if having more armor in that space, some physical, would be better or worse. Damn, that is fucking rough, Kikori. What triggers it the most is literally bending down too many times. Yeah, okay. So those are those same pieces of musculature that link down into the pubic bone. I wonder if like me, you have bits of your abdominal musculature that are hooked over your pubic bone incorrectly. Because I used to have that, and I fixed it in the last couple of days. And it's from bending and doing a lot of bending exercises. It was pressure pulling against that tissue and really pulling me apart. But I don't know. That's crazy, Kikuri. What a fascinating. I mean, I'm so sorry for your suffering, but what a fascinating thing to observe. I'm just pulling these up. That's actually super interesting. So let me pull something up for you. I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Oh, not that. That it? There we go. Bam. So I've never shown this to anybody. I've never pulled it up or pulled up any of these. In fact, I haven't gone back and looked at these. But this is me years ago. Right around the beginning of the channel. Before the beginning of the channel. Well before the beginning of the channel. And that's me sitting there. This is with the first camera that I bought. This is me sitting in my living room at my dining room table in front of the fireplace. Let's see. Is there anything interesting that you can see here? There's the wood pile back behind. Oh, that's my old water bottle that I used to have before I had this water bottle. That was a nice water bottle. Of course, I've got a vape with me, because of course, and I've got a second vape with me as well. I don't see a weed vape at the moment, but there probably is one nearby, at the very least. And that's young me. Much skinnier, obviously. Oh, there's my stool chair. That's that right over there. So that's pretty cool. And I'll just listen to a minute of this and let it go. How old were you? This was 4 years ago. Oh, no audio. You're right. Because I turned it off so that you wouldn't hear it, so I wouldn't embarrass myself. You're correct. Sorry. Here we go. There's audio. There's audio. Let me go back.
When it's happening, orange political indoctrination from scary movies, you know, or from Clockwork Orange, right? Yeah. It's like the vision from A Clockwork Orange. Except that I'm doing it to myself and consciously, and it's the thing that I naturally push myself towards. And when it's happening, there's this weird dichotomy of opinion within me, where one half is like, hey, there's a real world out there, and you're not
half and half, fantasy and dream,
in any way, shape, or form. And there's another half, which obviously at this point is stronger, is winning, which is saying, yeah, but we're doing something. There's something going on. There's a reason to be here at this point. And the argument of the thing that's like, there's a reason to be here, is never like, the reason to be here is because it's easy. It's the reason to be here is because this is where the things are lined up. Like, this is the place to be.
Never sent, never completed.
And I don't know, man. I don't know.
What happened was this transitioned into this.
For that exactly, except that
this was the first iteration of the idea.
That something about the two processes was thrown out of equilibrium, so that they don't happen as easily together. They still happen wonderfully together, and I can still handle and cope with diverse situations really fast and really well. But I'm impulsive, and that's a bit of a flaw.
Huh. Still a bit of a flaw.
I'm impulsive and not naturally orderly. I'm
not at all.
To chaos, and by that I don't mean
close
that I'm
to chaos.
I'm a creature of order, but I get up real close to chaos, and I let the ordered fabric of my existence spread out,
break up
really far.
Yep.
Really
so that I can integrate it.
To get that close to it.
Get really close to the edge of the abyss.
And then something happens, and well, you're quite literally looking at the product of the thing that happens. I mean,
there are all the pages.
Today and last night I wrote maybe 80 pages of handwritten text and diagrams and explanation on this topic. And,
fucking idiot.
That's I did the same thing the day before and the same thing the day before that. Since it happened, I can't stop it. I'm on the upswing.
Close to chaos.
I'm on a hell of an upswing. All right, and let me tell you what causes the upswing. Because it's amazing, and if it weren't for this process and like,
I'm really curious about what I'm going to say here.
At the same time as figuring out the principle that guides it, then, gosh, I don't know what I would be. But this process with the distinct halves, what happens is, it seems like I reach a critical point,
a breaking point of pain,
of chaotic individual elements that have not been incorporated.
Too much disintegrated.
Okay? So the diverse things that I've just been zoning out and
the unconscious, the dreams that you haven't been incorporating.
Allowing into my
It's brain. So funny that he gets it.
And they're relatively carefully selected things, and I think that's pretty damn crucial.
Right, the incorporation element.
That debate teaches you is the ability to very, very quickly dismiss things that are obviously very wrong.
Push.
And so I don't get caught up in much in the way of ideologies, because they're all founded on partial assumptions.
You always had some great insight, haha. Yeah, exactly. This is where we started, man.
This doesn't hold water at all.
Yeah, I have made good friends with this guy.
Super susceptible to
I'm integrated, man. My past is a part of me.
Not susceptible to religion, which is an ideology. Although I've gained quite a bit of respect for it.
Reintegration drama happening in your consciousness. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Respect for religion gained.
Well, thanks to Professor Peterson.
Yep, there you go. Mentioning JP 4 years ago. This before he was fucking as canceled, you know?
Yeah.
Jeez. This is the kind of works that
in a
never
lot of
ends. Yeah, no, this is the same process,
but
man. I'm still in it day by day.
things with fundamental assumptions that are
I'm a living entity,
non-existent kind
incorporating
of
new.
kind of well like there's no way to argue this with you. There's no way to communicate with you about this.
Oh, there we go. So, because of the way that the camera works, I'll have to just jump to the next one. So let me do that.
You're in a different a different causal plane, basically. As far as ideas go,
I
we
think I'm
can't
fucking with
interact.
magnets
And
at the
whether
moment.
that's because yours is more complex than mine, or mine are more complex than yours,
Yeah, I'm fucking with
is
magnets.
honestly, it's up
That's
in
what I'm
the
playing
air,
with in my
man.
hands.
It's up in the air. But if you're gonna found your argument on presuppositions like there is an initial force which starts all forces, that's like, well, okay, fine.
So I'm talking about
I don't know if
Aquinas,
that's
basically.
necessarily necessary.
And the presupposition that there is a
There
god
seem to be
before
ways
arguing
around it.
about being a god.
So, feck off.
Feck
Right?
off!
And then like websites and the whole fake news thing was quite funny to me almost because um, well, and then it became very not funny.
Oh yeah,
Very
very
not
fitting.
funny because uh, I hit a point where it actually became difficult to factually determine whether a news article reporting on a factual event had
Yeah.
factually happened, right?
Yep. Way harder to determine
That's
what's true.
that's where there
That's what
starts to be
things
a problem.
things have
And I've
gotten
had a couple
spooky.
of instances of that. It was like, this seems to be like a factual event that happened, but there's denial that it happened. What's going on? And there's no consensus. And that's when I started to get really scared. That's when I started to get scared because the like I always had
Yeah, I
a
agree,
high
Kukori.
opinion of my ability to differentiate, to
Truth from
easily
fiction.
differentiate truth from falsehood based on the orientation of a single truth, as opposed to all of the other truths that I understand, not just the ones that I agree with. Okay, and being willing to connect a truth that I see with a truth that I don't agree with, and being willing to admit that that makes the whole thing strong and agreeable.
One side, the other side, click clack, simplex.
It's
Magnets.
crucial. It's crucial. And then usually that leads to figuring out that it's part of a whole network of arguments that makes a lot more sense now.
Right.
But I've always had a high ability, a high
Opinion of my ability.
appreciation of my own ability to do that, and most of that is because it was trained into me.
Right.
Like, the ability was trained. It's there. It's proven itself because I can make better arguments than a lot of other people, and the proof is in the pudding, but the proof is also in the process that made the pudding. The recipe was good, and the teacher was good.
Your narrativist
So,
worldview became a meta-narrativist worldview. Yeah, as I delved more
and the
into
chef
narrative and
is good
meta-narrative,
material.
that's
Like,
pretty
when
accurate.
it
Yeah.
comes to discerning lots of varied truths, high openness, high IQ. Well, that's a pretty good setup.
Pretty good starting point.
So a lot of things line up to make it reasonable to assume that my ability to determine truth from falsehood is higher than average. Okay?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable assumption. My ability to
However,
parse
however
wheat
you
from
define
chaff is not bad. It's pretty good.
I've got a definition for you, but we'll get there. So it seems reasonable to assume that it's a pretty good skill of mine. So, I hear some banding about fake news. It's like, well, yeah, okay. One political candidate saying, no, I didn't, and the other one saying, yeah, you did. That's nothing new, right? That's nothing new. But something about it was sticky. Kept sticking with me. And it's that there's now a conception for it, and now a category for it, and now an idea that there's a lot of it, and there is. That's the scary part. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of fucking fake news.
A lot of fake stuff. A lot of lies out there. Really hard to parse which ones are real and which ones are
And
lies.
the issue is not that it's not necessarily that it's not true, right? The issue is the volume. The issue is the quantity.
There's too much mess
The
to
quantity
determine what's
is
true in the
too
world.
much.
It's too chaotic.
The
so
number of people who cannot think, who are
I'll parse this for a second and say, this is the seed of the idea of the channel, is that there's too much media out there, right? And too much of it is too fake. So where's the truth, and how do people find it? And the idea that I came to eventually was people find the truth through their own experimentation, or through finding people that you trust and using them as curators to determine what's worth watching and worth experiencing, and experiencing it to some extent through their eyes. I was thinking of like Roger Ebert, the great film critic, as someone who determined for millions and millions of people what films they should observe and how they should think about it, you know? And that's exactly it, and what I wanted to accomplish, and why I wanted to become a voice in the media space, pointing at the things that are good, right? Because I've expressed this in monkey terms now. I don't want to bring you bananas. I don't want to teach you how to find bananas. I want to show you where banana trees are. I want to show you where the banana trees are. And so when I say like Devilman Crybaby is a good piece of art, and I point at it, that's me saying go find bananas in there. There are bananas this way. And when I say Trigger Works, Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann, those are valuable, like really valuable stories. That's what I mean. It's like, don't ignore the banana tree. There's a banana tree right there. It's that way in the forest. Banana trees are growing in my greenhouse at the moment. Good. Banana trees should be growing in your life. I won't share them. Damn it. Monster. You should also ask, who is hiding my fucking bananas? Yeah, man, because there are some people hiding our fucking bananas, assholes. Greedy banana hoarders. Banana hoarders need to be wiped out, man. I picked up Atomic Habits. Thanks for that banana. Yes, good. You look like a movie villain in that gloomy setting. I agree. There's no light in that room. Literally, that room that I'm in doesn't have any lights in it. So the only light is from the sides. Is from some other things. Avoid any Murdoch news. Yeah, avoid any news maybe.
Are proceeding to do so anyway and busily write out the results of their addled logical processes and or their faulty assumptions. I mean,
yeah, then people spread them all the time. So this is Vampire Tea? Yeah, this is the count, man.
People who can't think their way out of brown paper bags.
Yeah, lots of people are stupid.
Don't realize that they're in a brown paper bag.
Yep.
Are writing what amount to self-help books.
Yep, tons of them. Fuckers.
Critical analysis of film. And,
where do you go for your news in America? Most reliable, I'd say, in UK is the BBC. There is no reliable source. There's none.
Hold on. Before you go, wait, you're contradicting yourself. You've been saying this whole time that the consciousness has an intrinsic value, is the thing that can put things together and take them apart and all that stuff. So you should be valuing all of those. They're all equally valid and good. And well, no, they're not. No, they're not.
That's so great. So old T is saying like, there are all these people writing books and writing essays and stuff about idiocy and claiming that idiocy is the way forward. All you need to do is go to fitness Instagram and look, and you'll see or fitness TikTok, even better, dozens and dozens of like 16-year-olds with no fucking clue making essentially self-help articles that are like, shove protein powder up your ass and it'll get you more gains. Nice. This is where all the dry scooping bullshit comes from. It's like, it's not bad, it's fine, but people are doing it on TikTok and recommending it and pushing it to other people, and all these different bits of exercise advice and bits of fitness logic and stuff that do not make any sense, and they're all being posted. And to put it into more accurate terms, because I didn't have the terms for it when I said this, the postmodern idea is that there's no inherent validity to truth and no inherent validity to one way of being or one set of statements over another. One person's set of exercise advice is just as valid and perfectly good as any other because all of them are just ideas and falsehoods and stories anyway, and so you don't really have to parse them effectively. And that's not true, is what old T says. He's like, fuck that, man. There are lies out there, and it's really worth pointing them out. And similarly, like when it comes to media and anime and art, a lot of people will say, well, shows are valid no matter what. It's just entertainment, man. Who cares? It's like, no, I care. Because first off, there are really good stories that can really take you and mold you and shift you and shape you into something different. Like really good stories. And then there are really shitty stories that actually tell stories that are wrong. That are actually wrong. Like stories where somebody is abusive and hurtful and then they get rewarded for it. And it's like, why the fuck is that the story? Well, because the person writing the story doesn't know how the world works and doesn't know how stories work. And it's wrong and it's hurtful. And then there's media that's just garbage, that's just truly trashy. You know, it's like there's a ton of children's media that is absolute garbage. And then there's Precure, okay? And Precure is goddamn beautiful. It's so beautiful that it's not fucked. It's a total maniacal capitalist bullshit systemic thing that's trying to sell toys to little girls. And what you would expect that Precure would be balls. You'd expect it to be garbage, just absolute shit tier trash. And it's not. It's some of the most accurate, beautiful, well put together, effective storytelling about how to live your life aimed at young children, but felt and resonant with adults continuously. And it's amazing. And so my goal as a person is to go and watch enough stuff and watch it effectively enough and turn my mind, which is pretty darn good, as old T said a little bit earlier. I think I'm pretty darn good at parsing what's true from what's false. Nowhere near perfect, but better than many, better than some. And so those that I am better than could look to me as an example and as a guide to point out where the banana trees are, and also to point out where some of the pitfalls are and be like, yeah, there look like there are banana trees over this way, but it's just swamp hell. It's just swamp hell. Harry Potter, for example, is a proletarian realizing his aristocratic heritage, then going to Yale and working for the CIA. I mean, if you want to frame it that way, you can. Harry Potter is also... I mean, if you want to frame it in Marxist, proletarian, and aristocratic terms, then that's fine. But I really don't think that's the way to frame it. What Harry Potter is that he's got two families. He's got the real world family, and then he's got the spirit family. And the spirit family is like... The spirit family is his dead parents that he can't actually reach, and they're where his magic comes from, and they're sort of culture and the divine feminine in his mother, the motherliness, and he doesn't get that in the real world, and so he has to escape the real world into the place where he can do magic, and he has to speak truth in order to do magic, and meet real friends, and put things really together, and all that jazz. Anyway, I don't know. Harry Potter is a complicated and very effective myth, and to frame it as just like, it's class struggle and CIA stuff, it's one framing that you can use, but it really feels dismissive, Bissus, to say that Harry Potter is just that. That's really dismissive of a mythology that is lodged inside the brains of millions, billions maybe of people. So, you know, be careful. From what I remember, it was the curse on Harry Potter that caused his human family to turn vile. Well, they were afraid of him. What caused them to turn vile is that they feared him. They feared Harry because he had the potential. He had the potential to become awake and powerful, and that's the potential that's inherent in every young man and young woman and every young child, and it's the potential that is spoken to by Harry. I mean, the curse also had a magical effect. I don't recall that being a part of the story. You may be right, but I don't recall that being part of the story. This is why lots of queer folks found some connection with the series. Of course, absolutely, and it's why we have to full death of the author, fucking Harry Potter, because Rowling's off her rocker on a lot of things. Something Rowling added after. That's what I would expect, because her initial mythological storytelling is great. Everything that she said afterward has been fucked. Has been some balls, man. It's shite. I am dismissing Harry Potter for exactly that reason. So that's really interesting, Bissus, because I would say that Harry Potter is an effective Christ mythology, actually. He ends up sacrificing himself to save the world in a lot of ways, you know? Like, it's a really effective Christ mythology. And so I think you could definitely look at it from a less dismissive perspective, and I think you dismiss Harry Potter, again, something that has resonated with millions and maybe billions of people. I think we dismiss it at our peril. It's really important. A demonic inversion of Christ, I agree. So you miss it, man. You've missed it, and you see it as demonic, and you're wrong. You're wrong. Those stories have to be told in ways that people can access them, and as soon as you say God or Christ or religion, as soon as you say those things, as soon as you say them, you turn off half your audience. As soon as you say religion, half your audience is gone. And the half that's gone are the people that need it more, because they're not getting it from religion. They have to get it in a secular way. You have to reach them with stories that are secular. It is Christological. Yes, it is a Christ consciousness story. It's the awakened individual. It's the awakened soul of the individual. I don't have an audience, lol. Well, I understand, but you have a brain, and your audience is partly my audience, and you're in my chat room, so I'm saying it's important not to dismiss stories as being something demonic or perverse. It's like, well, maybe those perversions are useful, because they're useful. There's great utility in the differentiation of the Harry Potter story and the Jesus myth. Like, they're two separate myths, and they're both really valuable, and they're both also the same myth. And one of them is secularly available to most people. And that's so valuable. Demonic doesn't mean bad. Okay, then I've read into what you said, and you need to be careful, because demonic reads as bad, man. It reads as bad. When you say demonic, people think monsters and evil. So, gotta be careful, man. And I've run into that all the time. Recently with my speech not being quite exactly perfect, because people interpret correctly and incorrectly based on what I've said, and I've had to be very careful about my speech. Anyway, I'm going to continue watching this just for a few more minutes, because I want to see what Past Me is talking about.
Them apart and all that stuff. So you should be valuing all of those. They're all equally valid and good. And well, no, they're not. No, they're not. Absolutely not. Like, one idea is not as equally valid and good necessarily as another. Like, I don't think the idea of love is equally valid and good as the idea of pen. Okay? Like,
that's a bad analogy, Past Me. But the idea of love is far more powerful and far more resonant.
There's actually an argument to be made there about writing being more powerful than everything.
Oh, see, he sees it in the wrong way.
So instead, let me instead say, I don't think there's an equality and equivalence between the idea of love and the idea of streak-free glass cleaner. And this is a super reductive example, and I know that.
It's so reductive.
You say the idea of streak-free glass cleaner is a perfect ideal, right? It's a solution that you could use to clean glass that would never, ever, ever leave a streak. No
yeah, okay, alright.
That's the pure ideal.
That's so stupid, dude.
Does that
that's
pure
so dumb.
Ideal
Lamau, yeah, that's dumb.
Have the same weight as the pure ideal of love?
But he's not totally wrong.
Complex ideal of love? Well, fuck no, obviously not.
Yeah, yeah. Streak-free glass cleaner not equals Christ love. Not quite the same level.
Equate to.
Need to embrace the cringe to better yourself. I agree.
Seems ridiculous. Seems ridiculous, but people do it all the time. People are faulty. People are flawed. And the thing about the internet is that there is no peer review. There's no error checking.
Yeah.
Essentially, not in the vast majority of the human-produced written content that is entering the blogosphere and the Redditosphere and the Tumblr sphere and the 4chan clusterfuck.
The 4chan clusterfuck, excellent.
All that jazz. And I say all of these things with love, man, with real abiding love. Like, I was genuinely raised by 4chan.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a scary thing to think.
Yeah,
okay?
Raised by 4chan.
It's a scary thing to think.
Have you read Hunter x Hunter, or are you interested in it? No.
Even even in kind of the
Some
earlier
people miss the old
days.
4chan, the old Gore-chan, you mean? Fuck that.
I was raised by 4chan.
I was raised in the 4chan
And
where
I entered.
I was raised in the 4chan where scrolling around you'd see Gore and CP around. Like that was where I was raised, man. That was where I was raised. Was the hell. The hell 4chan, the chaos monstrous stuff. And I don't miss that. I don't miss that too much. I was raised on that. I was raised on H. I was raised on Fit. I was raised on D. Yeah, on D. So I wonder why my sexuality got all fucked up when I was raised on 4chan.org/D, which is the hentai alternative, by the way. So for those who don't know, 4chan.org/H is the hentai board on 4chan. Spent a lot of time there. Got really invested in the hentai music video community. Interesting that I'll end up on various places. Raised on Lit, there you go. At least you weren't raised on Pole. Holy shit. I only visit Lit and Fit nowadays. Fit is a great board. I still think that the Fit sticky is the best fucking sticky. It's really stellar. It's why it's in my the basics. So if you go into the description of this video, the basics is there, and the liamrosen.com/fitness is the sticky from 4chan.org/fit, and it's still right there because it's fantastic. But I was raised on, so 4chan.h is the hentai board, and I was raised there. I got really into hentai music videos, which I really like, which is the problem with them, because they're an overwhelm of sexual content, and they're just like, blah. And that's actually evolved into the current process of gooning. Do you know about this? Do any of you know about this shit? Do you know about gooning? Gooning. That's the thing. Gooning is literally jerking off for so long that you go into a trance. Is basically the idea. Is that you're just losing your brain to porn. You're just losing your brain to porn. Just continuous porn stuff. So like TikTok thoughts or just sex porn for an hour. Synced to music and there are people who just sit in their chairs for hours and just masturbate for hours, just literally trying to turn their brains off is the idea. Just like, oh, and there are girls who do it too. Significantly girls who do it too. Like vegetables, yeah, pornified vegetables, sexualized vegetable. And, you know, if that's what you want to do with your life, then go for it, man. But it's very literally what we see in Cyberpunk Edgerunners, where you've got people on the streets, just homeless, with the jerk-off devices going, just watching. Blah. It's fucking balls, man. It's really rough. Internet pornography should be illegal? No chance. No chance. Just totally impossible. Totally impossible. There's no illegalizing it. It'll just get worse. So that's the problem is if you make it illegal, it'll just get worse. And it'll get more exploitative and destructive toward the humans who are a part of it. Let me show you, actually, Bissus, you should watch this. Twilight of the Porn Stars. Twilight of the Porn Stars is a documentary by Louis Theroux. And you can watch it on watchdocumentaries.com, which, by the way, is a relatively solid resource for documentaries. Here, Bissus, there. Watchdocumentaries.com/Twilight of the Porn Stars. Basically, he goes into well, right where I live, actually. I went to school and grew up and lived in Chatsworth, California, in the San Fernando Valley, the porn capital of the world. That's where I grew up. A lot of the women that I see at the gym work in porn. Not even a joke. Not a joke at all. And nowadays, a lot of the young women that I see work on OnlyFans. They work in porn for themselves. Porn is not going anywhere, man. It's not going nowhere. It's just going to keep growing. Thanks, I'll watch it. Please do. It's very interesting, and it's focused on the male porn stars and their relationships and their worldview. And it's sparked because 15 years ago or so, Louis Theroux, who's a British filmographer and documentarian, went to the San Fernando Valley and explored the world of male porn stars, gay for pay and otherwise, and talked to a bunch of them. And 15 years later, one of the people that he interviewed killed himself, hung himself. And so Louis went back to the area and spoke to a number of the people that he had spoken to before and a bunch of the newcomers in the scene. and talk to them about the industry and where it is and where it has been and where it's going. And the thing is, it is an eye-opening documentary into pornography. Really fascinating documentary. Highly recommend watching it. But the issue is this: when you crush things like that, it's like when you crush sex work, when you illegalize sex work, what actually happens? When you make sex work illegal, which it is in the United States, what happens? Well, sex work becomes male-run, because males are more capable of violent protection and forcefulness. Male-run, highly abusive. The sex workers themselves get abused continuously, and they lose more of their humanity in the process. It becomes far more dangerous for the people who engage in it. Blah, 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 blah. And so, well, there's something in a religious sense to think about, which is very important and something that we don't like to remember, but it is that Jesus Cristo, JC, that image in literature, in writing from thousands of years ago about what a man should be, what a human should be, one of the first people that he is kind to and forgiving to is a prostitute. Prostitutes and adulterers. Jeezy Nazzarini, exactly. Jeezy Nazzarini, herald of the murderers and thieves, liars and prostitutes, adulterous wives and whores. They're his people, all of them, right? And so we illegalize that stuff at our peril, and we treat those people as though they're disgusting and distasteful at their peril. And it causes a lot of harm when we do. So we have to be quite careful about these things. And the same is true of pornography. Pornography is booming, and it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. Forgiveness plus. Forgiveness plus, go and sin no more. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. The next thing is to show a path, to show a way forward. And that's a hard one to do. And it's kind of what I tried to do when I was getting close to and interacting with the OnlyFans girls and the monster people. I'm not advocating stoning prostitutes, lol. No, I get it. I understand that you're not. But the issue is that trying to top down make it illegal doesn't work. From what I'm trying to do is to bottom up show that it's not necessary and show a way forward towards something else. Does that make sense? Because as far as I can tell, all of the top down restrictive stuff doesn't work. Everyone should be this way. Nobody should do this. People revolt against that immediately, inherently, almost. It's like when you tell a child, go to your room and change your clothes. The kid goes, no. But what you do is you go, do you want to wear your blue shoes or your brown shoes? And the kid goes, blue. And you're like, okay, buddy, go. Have fun. If you give people a choice and you're like, well, you could jerk off to porn all day, or you could go talk to a pretty girl and one of them will fulfill you. And it's like, wow, I could go talk to a pretty girl? What? Yeah, you could wear the blue shoes, man. Put on the blue shoes. Go have fun. It's great. And that's that. All right, let myself continue. This is fascinating. So I haven't gone and looked at these videos since I recorded them. I really haven't, because I've been scared to. In a way, I was scared that my past self would be wrong about everything. You know? Or go talk to the pretty porn star and fill both choices. That's what I tried to do. And then I kept getting betrayed by them. Fucking shocking, right? That a person who's living to some extent a lie and making of themselves a facade that is their physicality on screen, that isn't really their sexuality, that those people might actually be liars, right? And might be betrayers and might be attempting to consume you and might be after just your wallet and stuff. Shocking that might be the case. But I had to go through it myself directly and get really betrayed. Like, really betrayed, and I did, and it really hurt me. This was just last week. It really hurt me to get betrayed like that. But I've grown because of it, you know? Or go talk to the pretty porn star and fill both choices. Check those boxes, baby. I'm actually down. I'm really intrigued to do that. There are a couple of people that I know who are in that industry, and I'd like to befriend them to the point where I can speak to them about it, because it's intriguing. Bill DeWitt says, reading hentai unironically made me realize that women were people too, and personal connection is an integral part of the sexual experience. I believe it, man. There's some great media in hentai. There's some great art in hentai. I mean, 177013 changed my life. Metamorphosis, Schindler's Metamorphosis, literally changed my life. The absolute self-hatred and disgust that piece of media invoked in me, because I did read that piece of media, and before I got to the end of it, I had definitely masturbated to it, like 100%. And so when I got to the end, I got the full experience that you should get from that piece of media, which is you get to the end and you realize what you have done, and that you are a part of what has happened to this character, and that you've contributed to it, and that you are it, that you're the reason, that your sexualization and disgusting tendencies and desire and willingness to objectify and dehumanize an individual are what contributes to the path that she's on, and that you're not that much different from the various characters that use and abuse her. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic piece of media. Horrifying piece of media. Hate it, love it. Incredible writer.
I was raised by 4chan. And I entered the world of 4chan in the unmoderated or very loosely moderated world. And so I saw
Following me just dead eyes the members. Hell yeah.
Mine maybe shouldn't. Maybe shouldn't or maybe should. I don't know. But I saw a lot of things.
How did you stop yourself from relapsing? I go months without looking at porn, but you can't avoid for long on the internet. So, not that long ago, a little over a week ago, I ended up seeing some pornography. I wasn't seeking it. What actually happened was I saw a girl on Tinder, and she had an Instagram link, and I was like, okay, I'll go check it out and see if she's a whore, right? See if this is a prostitute. Very literally, because I was curious to whether this was a prostitute. And so I went and I checked, and it wasn't quite clear, but I found her Twitter, and it became very clear. Like, wow, definitely. And it was just pictures of her getting reamed by big dicks, just all over the place. And it sparked that whole section of my brain that was like, fucking porno, baby. Blah. You know, it's like you're hungry and somebody puts a sugar cube in front of you. You're like, or a piece of fruit or a piece of meat or something right in front of you. You're like, oh my god, And what I did was I closed it and I went and I jerked off. So I'll make an analogy. When it comes to dieting, a lot of people do it wrong. And what they do is they try to eat not enough. The way to effectively diet that I know of, the best way to effectively diet is to eat enough proactively. That is, never get hungry. Never get hungry. And you can do this to yourself if you're on a diet. What you do is you get up and you have a nice hearty but relatively low calorie, but enough calories breakfast. Something filling like oats and some protein and maybe a little bit of peanut butter and some berries, you know, some like food, some real food. Okay? And that'll satiate you for a couple of hours. And then before you get hungry again, you have a nice sizable lunch that's enough food to satiate you. And if you have to, you have a few nuts, some peanuts or some almonds or something in the middle in between to hold you over so you don't get hungry. Or a bit of jerky, like some dried meat or some carrots, like fucking something. You have some carrots and hummus, right? You have something that's a snack that keeps you held over, and then you fulfill yourself. And you keep yourself throughout the day, from beginning of the day to the end of the day, you keep yourself satiated. And what happens is you never have a craving because you're always semi-full. So the same thing goes for pornography. You go until you have urges again, and then you deal with them. And you deal with them silently without going and looking at the thing. Keep the hunger daemon happy. Yes, exactly. Keep it happy. And nuts and jerky. Yes! Oh my god! Nuts and jerky! Very, very funny. Very funny. Because we flip it, and sometimes what you gotta do is you gotta nut. Like actually, you gotta nut and you gotta jerk it. I mean, seriously. Keep yourself a little bit satiated. And there's an issue with going too far into that realm as well. There's an issue with going, you know, with spending too much time with it. And focusing on it too much. And that's the thing with the pornography, is that it's so hyperstimulating. It's so hyperstimulating, so dopaminergic, so emotionally resonant and powerful that it pulls you in deeper and deeper and deeper. Even moderation in moderation. Right. Even moderation in moderation. Little bits of something good. And I've mentioned this before. Do what needs to be done, but set limits and avoid the things you don't want to see. Exactly. Absolutely accurate. And what I've said before is that for weeks, months now, I haven't intentionally found or looked at pornography. I've unintentionally looked at it because it's everywhere on the internet. It's all over the place, man. It's all over the place. And sexual shit is just bombarding you constantly. It's tough. But I haven't actively gone and sought it, and I haven't reinforced it by masturbating to it. You know? And I've said this before, but every time that I handle myself, if you will, without looking at something else, I find myself seeking an image inside of my brain, and the image is the amalgamated, mushed together image of the feminine that I am pursuing. And what she is she's a multifacial representation, many-faced, seven-headed hydra of the void that is all of the beauty that I've ever seen. And she shifts into representations that are close to some of the real women that I've met. But she's not them. She might be one of them eventually. I don't know. But she shifts into them and out of them. And it's that idea, that symbol, that image, that icon, that it's weirdly, it's Mother Mary in a way. It's you know the image of Mother Mary with the cloak over her that is labia? Or the image of Frida Kahlo. It's akin to that. It's akin to those. As far as an image goes, let me pull up, I think, this one. Yeah. So Frida, some of Frida Kahlo's self-portrait. Shape changer for best waifu? I believe it, dude. I believe it. I mean, Frida Kahlo is not a traditionally beautiful woman. Is not a traditionally beautiful woman, but this is the kind of image that is in my mind, but it's made up of all of the different women that I've been attracted to. And it's an image like this with the fractal leaves behind, and with the necklace of thorns and the flowers in the hair and the hands as earrings and all of those things. This sort of image of Mary with the of Mary as a sexual entity, is an old image. It's the divine female with children all around her to some extent. It's this cloaked feminine. And again, I'm not as attuned to the feminine mythologies. I'm really not. Because I'm male. You know? Makes it kind of tough. But that's it. It's the idea. And it's all these different women, and it's I've come closer to figuring out who my ideal would be because of it. And what's really interesting is that as I'm walking around in public spaces, like as I'm walking around in the gym, I see the women who I wouldn't have been that attracted to before, and I see them as shadows of that ideal. I see a reflection of that ideal in these young women that I meet. And the closer they are to the ideal, the more interested in them I am. And the further they are from the ideal, the less interested in them I am. And so, like it's actually, this is really interesting. Ooh, that's a good one. Kikuri says, funnily enough, when in high school or college, the most beautiful person I had the most major crush on, I was never able to think sexual thoughts of. Purity. You didn't want to taint them. And that seems exactly right. But here's the thing, when you find a woman who is worth you, and she believes it, and she accepts you, you will taint her, and she will taint you. You'll become each other. You'll break into each other. Yep, when I got my first girlfriend, I didn't jerk off in 3 months. Bang. Bingo. Yes, I've had this very same experience only a couple of weeks ago. This idealized Virgin Mary I made up in my head made me completely disinterested in any kind of pornography. It felt natural. Damn right. That happiness I felt made me forget about everything else, and I didn't care for ever touching her. That's insane. That's insane. So I agree with that, and that's awesome, and that's beautiful, but here's the thing. A beautiful woman deserves to be observed, and a beautiful woman deserves to be touched. A person deserves to be touched and needs it. You know? It's natural. It's not evil or tainting. It's beautiful. There's a reason that we ritualize it. Careful about associating purity with virginity. Exactly. Right. I don't think that those two things should be characterized together. And I think that the type of woman in the modern day that you want is not a virgin. I think you want a woman who is in control of her sexuality. Because I know a lot of women who are not in control of their sexuality. And they're in that realm or that zone of like liberation, freedom, empowerment. And I really wonder how empowering over-sexualizing yourself can be. Bissus writes something very good. Spiritual virginity is constantly renewed. I like that a lot because it separates the purity of mind and being from the purity of body. Because I really find that purity of body is pretty irrelevant. And if you limit yourself to seeking out purity in that sort of sense, then, well, then that becomes a problem. I feel no sexual desire toward the girls I like. That's interesting, Binkelderg. That's interesting. I wonder what's up with that, because when there's a girl that I like, I feel rampant sexual desire toward her, and it is the most pure feeling that I have. And it's not, and I've had other feelings before. I've had the urge to taint, the urge to destroy something pure. I've had that. I've heard that absolutely. I've had that absolutely. And I've had the like, no, I would be hurting her if I did that sort of thing as well. And the truth is somewhere in the middle. The truth is, again, that people deserve to be touched and desired and loved. I guess it's because I don't want to taint them. What if that's what they want? What if it's what they need is integration and alteration by your masculine? What if that's what is needed? Is like a combo deal? Because I really think that that's what's needed. And I think it makes both of you whole. And I think that we have some fucked up ideas about sex and sexuality, especially in Western societies. But what if I'm selfish and don't care for what they want? Well, don't be selfish. Care for what they want, dude. Care for what they want. That's what one flesh is. Yes. Mutualism. Seek mutualism. Binkelderg, here's something crazy to think about. Women are far more sexually capable than men. They're multi-orgasmic, dude. Women are multi-orgasmic. They can come repeatedly. And they can do it to themselves, but it's different when somebody else does it for them. Way different. She comes alone, but she comes more when she's with somebody else. It's a great Laura Bailey joke. It'll come down to each individual's experience, says Nini. I'm on the ace spectrum, but I've been physical with those I trust that wanted that from me in a safe way. Absolutely. Absolutely. Women tend to mature way sooner than men too, but society represses that thought to lots of them. Yeah. I mean, all you have to do is look at kids in middle school, and the girls are starting to develop secondary sex characteristics when the boys are not. And there's actually some evidence that that's happening more now. That women, that young girls are hitting puberty faster now, sooner now. It's not just that girls are sexualizing themselves more. There's evidence that it has to do with the xenoestrogens in the environment. So this is weird shit that I haven't studied deeply enough to talk about deeply. So take it with many grains of salt. But there are a lot of xenoestrogens in our environment. Atrazine, as a pesticide, functions as a xenoestrogen. So a xenoestrogen is just a molecule that's outside of the human body that acts inside the human body, similar to estrogenic compounds, which there are many of. But it binds to the same receptors. Okay, and so they may have a slight feminizing effect in men, or a reduction of masculinizing effects, or just mess with the hormone systems a little bit. And this is what the whole freaked out soy boy thing is. But the proof seems to be that soy doesn't cause this stuff. The shit that's in our drinking water sometimes does. Some of the poisons and toxins and chemicals, oxybenzone in fucking oxybenzone in your sunscreen, parabens in your shampoo and your soaps, BPAs and bisphenols in receipts and plastics and plastic drinking beverage containers and stuff. These things have potential to generate estrogen-like effects in the bodies of young men and women. So what happens to men is that they masculinize less, and they've got too much sex hormone binding globulin, or maybe not enough. I don't remember, but it's reducing the transference of dihydro and cholesterol into testosterone. But for women, what it means, and for young women, young girls, what it means is they're getting hit with pubescent levels of estrogens early. So if puberty was going to hit hard at 13, now it hits at 12 because they've got the baseline is already higher because it's already in their system. And so girls are becoming sexualized physically sooner, which is maybe a problem. It's maybe a problem. People will look back on chemical violence caused on us like we look back at Victorians putting lead on their faces. Yeah. Or not that long ago, people putting lead in paint, you know? There's a huge chunk of Western populations and populations all over the place that are brain damaged forever and will pass it down to their children forever because they've got lead damage. Huge chunk. Awful. Horrifying. And undeniable, right? And it's like the Flint, Michigan people. They're fucked, you know? They've been poisoned forever. And their children will be poisoned too. It's fucked. Estrogen is capable of causing cancer too in too great of concentrations. Absolutely. Estrogen is carcinogenic. But also so is test. Both are capable of leading to more cancer. But its imbalances in your hormone system in general lead to those cancers pretty significantly. And it's pretty interesting that that's the case. So I bring this all up because, well, women are sexual and sexual entities, and to look at sex, well, I'll put it this way. In media and media criticism, we get a lot of a certain narrative, which is that something along the lines of the feminine is pure and good, and the masculine is corruptive and dominating and sexualizing, and it's all about male gaze and all these things. And all that's fucking true. It's not untrue. But this idea that the female is less sexual or more pure or something is bullshit. Ladies, be kinky, dude. Women are damn dirty apes. Damn dirty apes. And a lot of them want to get absolutely blown the fuck out. Just demolished by the masculine. Want to get absolutely destroyed. And I mean in a good, consensual, effective way. And so, coming back to where this started, which was Binkelderg's fear that you'll be somehow, I think, depurifying or hurting or tainting the women that you care about, it's misplaced, man. It's misplaced. I'm aware of that whole pure impure thing, yet I can't control my subconscious no matter how rational I try to be. It's happened 2 times. In fact, both my exes I never touched. Well, here's what I would ask is, did they want to be touched? And how do you know? Because I'll bet they did. And I'll bet they were sitting there waiting for you to take the reins, man. I'll bet. And that's another problem, is that there are a lot of social compunctions around women being forward sexually, which is really sad and really unfortunate. Even then, I wouldn't really use the word taint, as it implies they'll never be pure again. I agree. I agree. You're right. Yes, they have tried seducing me multiple times and I told them off. And let me be frank, I'm not at all asexual. That's very interesting. It sounds like you have a complex within yourself regarding your potential for harm. So to put it in another framing, you may have, I talk a lot about the integration with the shadow, the part of you that's capable of causing harm, and that you need to be able to integrate with it so that you can be whole. Well, there's a part of you that's sexual that is the shadow, and it's capable of causing harm. And so let me put it this way. in a really horrible way. You are capable of hurting or abusing a woman, and you are afraid that you might. You're even afraid that your natural, normal, legitimate, desirable sexuality will cause that harm to a woman. And it might. And it might. What can you do about that? You can negotiate. You can negotiate consent and boundaries. Say, this is the box, and we can play in this box. And framing it as them seducing you or you touching them or whatever is not the framing. It's two people joining. Need to get into some BSM. Let them tie you up and do what they want to do with you, limiting your role for them to play with. That is super possible. Isn't that a normal fear if you despise yourself for having sexual desires in the first place? Yeah, if you despise yourself for sexual desires, that's pretty normal. But you know what isn't normal? Binkelderg? Is despising yourself for being human. Because humans have sexual desires. We are damn dirty apes, and so are women. So yeah, that's a normal extension of an abnormal feeling. Your self-hatred around sexual desire is not the norm. And it's not something that you should hold on to. It's going to be really hard to not hold on to it. And it's going to be a long path for you, man. But it's a worthwhile one. You should not hate yourself for being sexual. The world tells you that you should, though. I'll be real about that. A lot of feminism tells men that they should feel really bad for being sexual. And simultaneously tells women that they should be enlightened and empowered by their own sexuality. And that ain't fair, man. That ain't fair. The sexy time dance has rules. Every dance has rules. It has steps. And you're in sync with the other person, and you're in sync to a greater beat, a greater rhythm. Okay, I'm gonna go take a piss. I'll be right back. Okay, we back. I think the plan is to distance myself from how I perceive sex and completely cut out pornography so I can be comfortable around impurity. Quote unquote, impurity, okay. Yep, dolphins fuck a bunch. Chimps fuck by like crazy. Sexual acts have been really painted as impure in society and has sunken deep into people's minds, also into mine. Yes, absolutely. Actually, we know what a great text is for this particular topic? The Monogatari series. It's a fantastic text for this exact issue. Because what is it about? What is the Monogatari series about? Well, it's about Araragi trying to learn to see beautiful women as people. And what he finds out is that the beautiful women sexualize themselves just as much as he sexualizes them. the gaze in Monogatari is all over the place. Sometimes it's the male gaze, but often it's not. Often it's the woman's seduction. Right? It's this. This. Or the hair twirl, right? Or the playing with a necklace. And the framing all follows that. The women in Monogatari are often posing for the camera. It's a really in-depth exploration of what that means and how to relate to people. And yeah. I do think there's a difference between hardcore gangbangs and sexual intimacy between two people who like each other. Absolutely. And that difference is blurry to me. Okay, fair enough that difference is blurry. There is a huge difference, and part of it is neurochemical. Part of it's neurochemical. And that's something to be wary of in general, is that when you have sex, it changes you and it changes the person you have sex with, and there's no getting away from it. And that's part of the idea of female sexual liberation, is not so liberating. And we talked about this a lot in the Mushoku Tensei episode with Alina Elise in it, because women have a flood of oxytocin and neurochemicals when they orgasm and when they have sex in general. A flood of bonding chemicals. And you can't rationalize those bonding chemicals away. All you can do is hammer your receptors until they don't work anymore. And that sort of is what happens to the porn star girls and the really over the top sexual girls. They hammer their receptors so much that their attachment problems, that they end up with problems with attachment. Sorry for co-op. No, dude, your therapy session has been fascinating because I'm really interested. You shared some stuff about your sexuality. I think it's become increasingly obvious that human sexuality is one of the most flexible and fluid parts of our being. 100%. That and identity, you know? We can really alter how we are in the world if we change our identity. I'll keep watching.
But the vast majority of the content that seems to be posted to these, and there's another aspect, which is the per click media, the media that actually doesn't care if it has content, where all of the value is actually generated, like all of the genuine value of a news article now is in the headline.
So skinny.
And you wonder why clickbaity type content that doesn't actually contain anything is so highly valued and spreading everywhere. Well, the answer is obvious. There's no trade of value for value. The only value is getting people to click, right?
Is this younger T from before you had decided your own sexuality? Well, first off, that's not a way to put it. I didn't decide my sexuality. I discovered it. And I want to be really clear about that. The decision part, it wasn't a decision, it was a discovery. And yes, this is younger T. This is about 4 years ago. And this is, at this point, yeah, I was definitely more in between. Oh, it's okay. The bad phrasing is totally okay. I was definitely more in between at this point. And again, my mind was raised on 4chan. And, I found and still do find this is embarrassing to admit, in a weird way it shouldn't be, but I found and still find traps very attractive. And it's simple, it's because they're feminine. I realized that. It's because they're feminine. And it's because I wasn't very much in touch with my own masculine side or my own feminine side. And so there was this complex there where I was looking at, and I'm sorry to use the word trap, that's incorrect, because the imagistic representations that I'm talking about are not trans people. They're not trans people. And there's a real big difference between calling trans people traps is not okay. I agree. I fully agree, but I'm not talking about trans people. I'm talking about hyper-feminized, sexualized boys, right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, there's a distinction that people don't know. Right, I have to be very clear about that because like, first off, let's step back and be super clear. People are people are people are people. I don't care if they're straight people, gay people, trans people, female people, unfemale people, people with uteruses. I don't give a fuck, right? I don't give a shit. I'm using the word trap for fuck. Let me just find you a Astolfo. Right, Astolfo, exactly. But let me find you, would femboys be a better term? Femboy would be a better term. Yes, absolutely. God, that's so much porn. So I pulled up N hentai. I hate it. Not sufficient memory to continue recording. That's totally fine. I'm looking for popular all-time under flashbanged by porn. Exactly. The Inran Shonen series, for example, by Gyro, Jairou, Gyro. That series, for example, I find incredibly attractive. I find very sexual, and it is. It's hypersexual. Inran Shonen, which is like Slut Boy or something like it. So I'm just admitting that to you. And the sexualization that happens in my mind, or happened in my mind, was multifaceted. It was a desire for the entity that's represented, so the feminine male, the desire for that feminine side in order to sexualize it. Like, I want to fuck that as the idea, but it was also, I want to be that, because whatever that is seems happy and awakened and consistent and coherent in its sexuality, and I am not, because I wasn't coherent in my sexuality. And this is the thing that we don't like to admit, as individuals, as men, for example, is that a big portion of our sexuality is actually feminine, and a big portion of our self is actually feminine, right? It's like almost half is a more feminine mindset, caring and nurturing and desiring of the capacity to be vulnerable, and the desire to hold someone and be held by them, stuff like that. And so there was this, I want to fuck that, but I also wanted to be that, right? I want to be that, and I want to fuck it. And I experimented quite a bit with sexualizing myself in feminine ways, and I have done so. Up until rather recently, even, you know, I was wearing leggings until not that long ago. And I had this complex of ideas around it, like, well, it's because I don't like wearing shorts, and these are effective. But a portion of it is because, well, I think I'm attractive. I mean, really, like, I'm an attractive human being. I've got a really nice butt, for example. Weird thing to say. I've got a great butt and nice legs, and there was no way for me to coherently express those sexual elements of myself, because I didn't understand how to be sexual. I didn't understand how to be sexual because the only sexual things that I saw were the feminine. So it was like this idea where it was like, well, I want to be a sexualized entity, and I want to be in control of my sexuality, but the only sexual that seems to be allowable in the world is feminine sexuality, because masculine sexuality is viewed as exploitative and dominating and rapacious and rapey and wrong, and that's the masculine sexuality, and I don't identify with those things. Well, then I must be identified with the feminine sexuality, which is something else, which are intrinsically feminine. Right, those are intrinsically feminine ideas. Maybe they shouldn't be, but they are. And you as a man, or you as a woman, are at least like 30 to 40 to 50% the other. At least. You're something in between. And it's only been recently, as I've really delved into and dropped myself into male sexuality. And part of it was that I was unable to look at male sexuality and male sexualization because of internalized homophobia. But something that actually happened right before I figured this shit out for myself, before I figured out that I'm straight and that I'm male, is I actually went and I forced myself to watch. You know how there's over-the-top porny porn that's very pornographic-y, and then there's sort of sensual porn that's built for, sort of built for women. What I did was I actually watched a full gay porno without masturbating. I wasn't interested in it sexually, but I watched a full gay porno, and one of the ones that was very sensual. And I watched two men fuck. I watched it, and I didn't jerk off to it at all, but I watched it happen. And I forced myself to, because, God, a whole part of my body, a whole part of my mind screamed at it, like, no! This is wrong. That's not wrong. And what I realized was that men are capable of being sexual and sexualizing themselves, and that there are elements of sexy that are male, and I can identify with them, and I can align myself with them. And as soon as I did that, it was like, well, I realized that the homosexual pornography didn't do it for me. It wasn't what I wanted. And I only really realized it because I had avoided looking at it for so long. I'd avoided looking at it. I really realized that's not what I want. And while I was looking, I was like, yeah, I don't think I could sleep with a man. I don't think I could kiss a man. It's not me. I think I could do it if I was forced, like, gun to my head, I would be able to, and it would be fine. But I wouldn't want to. That's not me. Okay, so there's something else going on here. There's something about my ability to sexualize myself and to represent myself as a sexual entity that's misaligned and totally broken and shattered. And it was. And it was at that point that I recognized in myself, like, this whole complex that I've been carrying around, this baggage that's like, maybe I am actually gay, was really just fear of the possibility that it might be true. Something like that. And when I came to that conclusion, and again, it's a discovery, not a decision. When I came to that conclusion, I discovered that truth about myself. Since then, I have been in line. I have been aligned. And I've been seeking the sexual from the feminine. I've been seeking more clearly my desire for the feminine. And I've been seeking to turn myself, and it's just been happening on its own also. And I've mentioned this before, that my test levels are up, because they're up, man. But everything that I do seems to click into line with becoming a more effective man. Not a more effective human, exactly. More effective as a human by being aligned with my own maleness. And sexually so. Being desired by both sexes is one of the best feelings I find in life, twice the compliments all the time. So there's an issue that I have with that, which is that I have been sexualized by men for forever, and it's overwhelming. And that's part of the process that I went through, was that, women aren't very forward in general, and that's a problem. They aren't very forward about their desire. And I'm a little bit autistic, like a little bit. And so being able to read the interest that is shown in the very barest glances and stuff that women do for their dance of courtship, I've never been good at reading that. And so I was bombarded continuously from a fairly young age by men who wanted to fuck me. And so, I've always been very easily able to find men who wanted to fuck me, and it's always been very difficult for me to find women who did. And so something about that twisted my brain. It was like, well, I get, if what I am is a thing that is desired by men, then maybe that's how I should shape myself, because being wanted, just being wanted, is really powerful and really desirable. I'd really like to be wanted. To some extent, it doesn't matter by who. And you see this a lot. You see this a lot in all sorts of people, in women especially, for sure. But I saw it in me. I wanted to be wanted. I have a Japanese male friend who dressed up at uni as a slutty schoolgirl on a night out. He got hit on and 18 phone numbers from guys in that one night. Absolutely. And if he wants 18 dicks, good. Do it, man. Do it. I saw your comment, Nini. I saw your comment. I haven't responded to it or read it all the way through. I read a good portion of it, but I read it as I was waking up this morning, and I'll talk through it come next episode of Poon Poon. Which, by the way, probably is not going to be today. Today is Tuesday. I'm supposed to be recording Poon Poon. Probably not going to happen because I'm behind on Cyberpunk and I want to get that edited. And I have that up. And because we've been talking for 2.5 hours here on the Brew. Because we need to. Because this is important. Because it matters. Because it's fun. Because it's interesting. Because we're in the shit, dude. We're in the sauce. And this is some value that we're achieving. And I fully get you. I understand that you're trying to educate, not to accuse. I've never read Poon Poon. Is it good? Bissus. Poon Poon is really good. Poon Poon is really good, Bissus. Like, really good. It's a pretty spectacular myth. Pretty spectacular myth. There's an overabundance of effeminate male sexuality in anime, though, which is why so many men go through the same thing. Abundance, at least. Maybe not an overabundance. There is something really interesting. Are you able to put these lives in the video channel as well, since they seem to just sort them in a place most won't see? I can't. I can't, actually. I would have to re-upload them, I think, which is some balls. I don't like that they did that. But I'll check. I'll look and see. I know that I can put them in the playlist, which is helpful. But I don't know. There is something interesting. It's a theory of feminine masculinity, which is this. It's that I can't remember who I was listening to. It was somebody who is an evolutionary psychologist or biologist. Okay, so there was some scientific grounding. It doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that it's true. But the idea was this. There's a question, and the question is, why is homosexuality adaptive? Because if there's any trait that we have that's made it into the general population and remains in the general population, it's relatively accurate to say that that trait is probably adaptive to some extent. It's probably not wrong if it made it this far into our population. And that becomes less true as our medical science becomes better and people are more capable of reaching the age of reproduction and finding mates. But it's still true. So the question is this: homosexuality should have long ago. We would expect that homosexuality would breed itself out of the gene pool, right? So why the fuck hasn't it? Because mostly, for the most part, gay people don't reproduce. Mostly. So why is it still in our gene pool, and why is it growing? That's weird. Well, there's a theory, and it's just a theory, a game theory, okay? And the theory, and I don't remember who posited this, the theory is this: really masculine men, gay is a benefit, simply, I agree. Really masculine men don't interact very well, don't comprehend very well the feminine at all. If you're really hardcore masculine, your ability to interact effectively with the feminine isn't great. And you see this all the time in the Chad dads, the tatted up Chad bad boy boys, right? They don't interact that well with the feminine. The feminine is all over them, right? Like women throw themselves at those bad boys constantly, and the bad boys chew them up and spit them out. And they're unable in many cases to form lasting bonds or significant relationships. So what you actually want is a man who's a little bit less masculine, who's a little bit more effeminate, who has a little bit more of the capability to empathize and to relate to the feminine individual. And on that sort of a front, you can find a mating pair, like a real balance in there. And the same seems to be true for women. Really feminine women don't interact that well with the masculine, with males. And so the idea is that having a little bit of femininity in men and a little bit of masculinity in women is highly adaptive. But then, like everything else in humanity, there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum there. And so on the farther end of the spectrum are the men who are very effeminate. Very, very effeminate. And you meet these all the time. They're sort of the prototypical, oh my gosh, sort of gay male, right? Who leans hard into the feminine. And what you'll find is that those individuals are best friends with lots of girls, and they don't vibe that well with a lot of the more masculine men. Because the more masculine men are like, I don't know how the fuck to deal with you, man. I really don't know how to deal with you. Unless they've communicated it out and they've figured out the boundaries there, and that's pretty interesting. But it's like it's your Gallows and your Leos in some way, in Promare terms. Also, evolutionarily, feminine males were capable of sneaking into established groups without it being attacked by alpha males. 100%, absolutely. And also of not looking like they were a threat, right? While fucking all the women. So that's actually a classic story. You've got the alpha male at the head of the pack who's like, I have all the power and all of the women, right? And then you get the more effeminate male who's reciprocal and mutualistic with all the women and has the ability to interact with them. And like, instead of going out with the boys who are hunting, right? Going out with the lads and going hunting, the feminine male is like, maybe is building things for the women, is building baskets for the women to, building baskets for the women to gather more fruit with, in a weird sense, right? And is working more closely with the female, and is going to end up being capable of fucking all the women and having more children, which is quite interesting. There's a reason why we went from Astro Boy and Disney-inspired characters to lolis and effeminate Bishonen twinks. Well, yeah, literally Paris in the Odyssey, lol. Exactly right. Exactly right. You've got the big masculine Agamemnon, and then you've got Twinkie Boy Paris, who's beautiful and effeminate, and is capable of relating to the female. Is homosexuality actually correlated to femininity? Most of the gay men I've met have been no more or less feminine on average. So I don't know about that. I think that it may be to some extent, but that's not really what I'm saying, and it's because I lack the phrasing and the terms to do this properly. I also have met a lot of gay men who lean hard into masculinization as well and being very masculine. But there's something about the way that a lot of them are that is more in touch with the feminine, at least. Maybe not is it, but maybe is in more in touch with it, is more comprehending of it. I don't know. The feminine men are very appealing to girls, says Yan, who is female, I believe. First and foremost, sorry for outing you on that, Yan. It's just useful in context to hear that this is from a female perspective. And I have to remember that, most of my audience is male, and so we come at this from a sort of a perspective, and having a little bit of a different perspective is very useful. The feminine men are very appealing to girls. First and foremost, it's the safety. They are one of the girls, right? Well, the masculine man is going to demolish you. like masculine men, well, men are rapacious. They want, they take. We want, we take. Some would let the alpha male fuck them as a woman, then sleep with women when the alpha has his back turned. Totally. That's sort of the fuck, what's his name? The guy who gets killed by the mountain in Game of Thrones? That guy? So the mountain is all man. Big stupid man, smash face, crush boys, kill everything, fuck women, right? And then you get Spear Boy Game of Thrones. Oberyn Martell. Oberyn Martell is like open jacket, not effeminate, but far more feminine than like the knight, the mountain. He's well dressed. He dresses in silks and finery. He's like coiffed and shaved. He plucks his fucking eyebrows, He's a little bit more imagistic, a little bit more posing, a little bit more feminine in his representations, and even in his fighting, right? Even in his fighting, he's a dancer more than anything, and a showman more than anything. And he sleeps with the women and the men, and he doesn't give a fuck, right? And he's getting it all over the place. To some extent, gay men do have different hormonal levels as well. I don't know that. I don't know about that, but I'll take it. I'll take your statement. It's a spectrum like anything, I believe. Everyone is shades of everything, though there can be certain trends. Sprang to my mind immediately when you said buff gay man, Oberyn, or whatever it was called. Isn't he bi in the show? He is absolutely bi. I vividly remember him flirting with a dude. No, he was sleeping with a dude. He and his woman, the woman that he's with, who's the leader of the Sand Snakes, he and that woman are together, and they sleep with a dude together. It's one of the first times that we meet him is that he awakens from a sexual tryst threesome, a male female threesome, and that's part of our introduction to him. Yeah, he is absolutely bi. He's in that interim space, and that's something that's probably adaptive too. We get a very useful one. Thank you for contextualizing your statement. In my observations as a homosexual person with homosexual friends, I really think femininity in gay men ultimately results from nurture. The gender of friends you make influences it a lot as a child. So I agree with that. However, I will say this: in early elementary school, there was a guy in my class whose name was Alex, I think, and Alex was from the age of like 8 or 9, very obviously hyper gay. And what I mean is like, the New York hand flop, flamboyant gay persona. This kid was that from birth. Just was that from birth. And yes, befriended a lot of women and all of these things, but had the vocal fry and the vocal representation from childhood, from early childhood, pre-sexuality, like pre-puberty, was already expressing in a very flamboyant, hyper effeminate, but not feminine femininity, homosexual gay femininity, right? Which is, it's different, but you go and you watch Paris is Burning, for example, and you see a bunch of these people in the drag queens and in the gay men who are going up and dressing and posing and doing all these things, and you interview with them, and they've all got these similar mannerisms and speech patterns, and some of it's learned, but some of it is like not quite learned. Some of it's like built in. I don't know how much. Yan says, it's okay, T. I was always very attracted to femininity in men, be it twinks, femboys, or anything in between. I was always very interested in as to why, so this conversation is very validating to me. I'm super glad. I'm super glad for you. I wonder, Yan, have you ever experimented with bisexuality? I don't mean to put you on blast here or bring up something in those terms. Have you ever experimented with it? Because for example, I have. It's part of why I'm very confident in saying that I'm straight, is that I have experimented. And I fucked myself up pretty hard by doing so. Again, remember, I was raised on 4chan, and so it was pretty young. It was really about the same time that I got my first girlfriend and started experimenting with female sexuality, or sexuality with myself as male and toward the female, that I started experimenting with homosexual sexuality as well. And I've experimented down both paths, and one of them very much works for me, and one of them very much fucked me up. Very much did not work for me. So I wonder if you have. My masculine gay friend was best friends with the most petite, pure, hyper gay guy. Interesting. That's sort of Gallo and Leo, right? That's a pretty common pairing that I see. I also see very mutualistic pairings in gay men where, you know, it's a meme and a bad joke where you're like, oh, so which one of you is the girl, right? It's like, well, fuck off, man. That's not how this works. They're both men. You know, they're both male, and that's not how it works. But it's definitely a pairing where you get a very hyper masculinized gay man, and a lot of those guys are fascinated with the aesthetics of the male body. I see that a lot. Are like obsessed with the representation of masculine sexuality, and you'll see them. They'll go on juice, and they'll blow the juice. I mean steroids. They'll go on steroids, they'll blow up their musculature, and there's a very particular archetypal hypermuscular, hypermasculine gay man who is a particular archetype that's very much going for like the Greco-Roman like ideal form. And good for them, that's fucking awesome. So that's something. 2 of my cousins were definitely flamers right out of the womb. But some don't express that from the get-go either. It's not an easily definable thing. I fully agree. I am bisexual, in fact, says Yan. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, Yan. So here's what I would say. I think we're all bisexual. So this is a crazy idea, but I really think that it's not only a spectrum, the Kinsey scale type of spectrum, but I think that every single human being is to some extent capable of bisexual feeling. And I think in large part, that's why people who are vehement about their straightness are so against and hurt by homosexuality in media. It's what was happening in my brain. I was unable to look at male sexuality at all. The idea and it's part of the complex that I've spoken of before, where I didn't want to be touched, especially by men. Really didn't want to be touched. Why? Well, I figured out why. It's because it does make me feel things. It's because I am capable of sexualizing the male body. It's because I am capable and more than capable. After years and years of pornographic exposure of all sorts, I am capable of looking at male genitalia and having a sexual impulse around it. But it's not the same as the one that I have toward women. And I discovered, again, didn't choose, discovered that one of them makes me feel more whole and makes me feel more real. So, but what I think is that I think that in the same way that you get the Puritan preacher who says, no, I must never look at the sexual. Women must wear skirts down to their ankles so that they don't risk upsetting my internal balance and all that bullshit, right? You get the same thing with people who are like, no, it's evil to look at the gayness. It's evil to look at the gayness because it'll affect you. But they'll say, it doesn't affect me. I'm perfectly straight. It's like, okay, then why is it that being anywhere near anything gay makes you freak the fuck out? And the answer is because it actually has an impact on you. Because sexuality isn't easy to put into a box. It's because you can look at the physical form of someone of the same gender as you, regardless of your sexuality, and you can feel things for it. Everyone can. It's possible. But you're somewhere on that spectrum, and you deny that you're somewhere on the spectrum at your own peril. Because the more that you crush those urges and representations and potentials down, the less confident and competent you're going to be in your own sexuality. I think fundamentally this femininity is picked up from women in Alex's life. He found that he related with women and thus adopted their characteristics. Maybe, but we would have to do some serious studies in order to figure that out. This is completely my observations in life, by the way, not gospel at all. Totally valid to do that, right? It could have been relationships. It could have been hit the way that Alex bonded with his mother and father, right? It could have really been any of that. It could have been that he was born with a more, with like more on the spectrum toward the feminine, perhaps, right? Biochemically, neurologically, maybe more estrogen in the womb, maybe different dietary stuff. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows why this happens? Or maybe just genetically, because it might be genetic. It might be really built in. But from as early on as we can test, or maybe earlier, something about Alex's life was determined that he would express himself as highly feminine and would adopt those characteristics. But that's the other interesting thing, is that flaming persona isn't adopting the characteristics of femininity. It's adopting a particular set of characteristics of homosexual femininity, of gay femininity, because the femininity that gay men go through is really different from femininity. It's something actually that ContraPoints, who is a trans woman, Natalie Wynn, said at one point, is like, all I know is that I feel like a woman. And does anybody ever feel completely like a woman? Well, maybe a very small subset of extremely flaming, flamboyant gay men feel like a woman at all times. Like drag queens, sometimes they seem like they really feel like women, which is crazy because they're masculine men, right? It's crazy, but that was the thing that Contra said, was like, the only people who really seem to be like, I'm a girl, baby, I'm a fucking gal, are gay men. Really weird and interesting. Yan writes, which isn't really surprising, Lamau. The androgyny was always so appealing to me. Was trying to be that, but it really isn't me. The realization that I was in fact just a cis woman was very reassuring. The same goes for me. I absolutely experimented with androgyny and with feminization of self. Absolutely. I've definitely experimented down those directions, and it was the revelation in my mind that I am in fact just a cis man. And a straight one. I'm so much more attracted to women than anything else in the world. Like, really magnetically attracted to them. And it wasn't just reassuring, it locked me into being. The revelation really locked a bunch of my uncertainty, a bunch of my chaos down. Exactly, T. Totally agree, says Nini. It's this need to define and label everything that kind of screws us up if we base our entire lives around it. I agree. However, I would say this. I think labels are necessary. You need to label yourself. You need to figure them out. And the reason is because we take things, and when they're in chaos, they cause us a bunch of stress, and we've got a thread running, like a process, like a computer process running, and that's trying to figure out, like, it's like taking up 2% or 3% of your brain power is like, what am I exactly? How do I relate to the world sexually exactly? And if you don't have a label on it, that thread is going to be spinning. And if you can figure it out to some extent and put a label on it, it's like, and you can set that weight down. You don't have to carry it around all the time, because you can just put it in a box, and not box yourself in. I mean, put it on a shelf and put a label on it that says, this is where my sexuality goes, and it's like this. And when it comes time to take your sexuality out of there, right, it's like, okay, I've met a person that I'm interested in. Time to take my sexuality down off the shelf. Here it is. Here's what it is. Pop it into myself. I'm a sexual entity that fits these labels. And those labels let you interact with the world more effectively. It's like, well, if I'm a straight man, then I probably want to seek women who are interested in straight men. That would be really helpful. And if I'm in uncertainty, then I'm going to seek all sorts of different sexuality, and some of it will work and some of it doesn't. But if I put the label, I'm a straight man, what does that say? Well, it says that I am this, and I am seeking this. And that means that I don't have to waste any time seeking all the things that I'm not actually seeking. Because I'm a straight cis man, and I'm interested in, specifically in biological women. And I've had to go through this conversation on Tinder with a couple of people a few times, because I get likes from trans women very frequently. Like, a lot. And it's partly probably because I express myself as someone who's integrated feminine and masculine to some extent. And that's probably quite attractive to somebody who either hasn't fully integrated that or who has integrated it differently. It's like, well, that's really interesting. But I've gone through the habit of swiping right on those trans individuals who have swiped right on me. And I've paid for the Tinder thing so I could see how many people were swiping on me and which people. I paid for it when I was doing the thing, and I'll have it for the next month, and then I'll stop paying for it because I don't need it. But I'll swipe right on them, and I'll just write out very explicitly, I'll just say, hi, thank you so much for your interest. I'm really interested in dating biological women, primarily because I'd like to have children. Thank you so much for your interest. You're lovely, and you're totally deserving of respect and a sexual and romantic partner, but it's not me. So thanks, and I'm sorry. And I've gotten responses back that are basically just like, well, thank you for letting me know. Now I don't have to worry about it. Really appreciate it. And that's great. That's good. So it's this need to define and label everything that kind of screws us up if we base our entire lives around it. Right, you shouldn't base your entire life around it, but you should use it. Labeling yourself and defining things is a very useful tool. And it's part of that my dislike of the postmodernist critique, which is to say that genres and labels don't matter, is what postmodernism basically says, is that everything can be labeled in all sorts of ways, yada, yada, yada. And that's all true. But it all ends up coming back to the individualism, right? It's like cross-sectional feminism, or intersectional feminism, or intersectional isms are the process of putting so many labels that say, well, you're a victim because you're this color, and you're a victim because you're this sexuality, and you're a victim because you're of this social class, and you're a victim because you're female, and you're a victim because you're Jewish, and you're a victim because of all of these things. And as you get deeper and deeper and closer to labeling all of those intersections of different things, what you end up with is just this. Everyone's a victim, and everyone is completely an individual. A black, gay, trans, Jewish, disabled, autistic person, neurodivergent person, I should say, has all these layers of discrimination against them. Yes, true. But labeling them as such isn't terribly helpful. What you have to do is just say, that's a person, because it's just a person. But the labels are still useful. Bissus says, seeing beauty in all people is called having good taste. I agree. Haha, I like that, Bissus. Agreed. Yeah, there are so many potential contributing factors that could influence sexuality that I find it unlikely we can pin it all down. And thank God. We're all just weird little creatures playing in the sandbox at the end of the day. I agree. And we really like fucking in the sandbox. It'd be great if we didn't. It would be so much easier. My first girlfriend is now married to a woman, used to be truly beautiful, but then she shaved her hair short and adopted the more male look. I'm sure her new wife finds her just as beautiful, though. Yeah, and good for her. You know, who are you to decide what is beautiful for that woman? She has decided, and she may find that she's been wrong, but that's for her journey. And if she's happy right now, then, well, if she's happy right now, then that's what matters. Yeah, it can be a way to relieve that confusion, absolutely. Do you ever get any responses from them? Yes, absolutely. Never used Tinder or any dating apps, but how many trans do you tend to encounter on there? Is it proportionate to the population in general or higher? I think higher, but I am in the greater Los Angeles area. So I'm in California, and so socially, there's much more, I think there's a higher proportion socially in this area, based on media and the types of people who, a very liberal state, and the freedom to represent as such. 1 out of every 10 maybe is trans. It is definitely a bit of an issue because, well, how do you deal with this? This is a problem, and I think it's actually a problem. I think it's actually an issue. You go on Tinder and you're swiping and you're looking for women, and you get 2 sections that you can go through. You can go through women, you can choose to see women, or you can choose to see men. And so if you're trans, for example, you're a trans woman, you put your profile on the women's section because you're looking for men, let's say. If you put your profile in the women's section because you're looking for men, I am a woman looking for a man. And the men who are swiping might not be looking for a trans person. And so I think that those trans people are going to get swiped left, and more accurately, more importantly, they're going to get hate thrown at them. Because men are going to see that and go, but you're not a woman. And it's like, man, that's a woman. As far as she's concerned, she absolutely is. So what do we do about that? I don't know. And it comes down to the same sort of awful and hard conversations that we have to have. And we really do have to have these conversations, and they're not flippantly stated conversations around trans individuals in sports. Like, you have what's the woman who did all the NCAA just crushing it in swimming? Trans swimmer NCAA. Leah Thomas, nominated for NCAA Woman of the Year, right? This is a person who was a pretty good swimmer in the male division, transitioned, moved into the female division, and started crushing it in the NCAA. Or you look at the Australian trans weightlifter, and we're talking about weightlifting. Laurel Hubbard. Laurel Hubbard was a male weightlifter. New Zealand, sorry. Was a male weightlifter, and not a great one, but one. And transitioned, switched over to the women's category of weightlifting, and crushes the competition. It's not even close. It's not even close. The same goes for CrossFit, right? Well, in CrossFit, we have a male division and a female division. And the worst men in the male division are miles ahead in terms of all of their times, except on a couple of endurance events. All of their strength, all of their weightlifting, all of their times, all of their speed, all of their ability. They're miles ahead. The worst men in the pack are miles ahead of the best women in the pack. So there are worries there about trans people in sports, and like, how do we do with it? Where do you put them? Because it doesn't seem fair to women to put trans women into sports and have them compete on the same playing field. But it's certainly not fair to trans people to not allow them to compete in sports. So the fuck do we do? Well, people are people are people are people. Absolutely right, Nini. But what do we do about this thing? And I don't have answers, not even a little bit. This whole stream has been fascinating to me because even though heterosexuality surrounds me, I've never really taken the time to understand it because it's just a given majority, if that makes sense. Right. That totally makes sense. Well, there's a lot of effort put into figuring out how homosexuality works because, because it's like people demand that the homosexual justifies itself, right? Nobody demands that being straight must be justified. You know, it's just taken as a given. People are just like, oh, you're straight? That's the norm. And people are like, oh, you're gay? Why? The fuck is wrong with you? And that's some bullshit, man, right? And so you imagine that the people who are gay or anywhere on the various spectrums of odd sexuality that are human are forced and pushed by society to represent themselves effectively. And that process of being forced to represent themselves leads to a lot of thought. Right? Leads to a lot of argument. And that's really powerful. Kikuri says, I dread to think of the medical cost for trans people living in America, especially with hormone prices and operations. I do too. It's pretty bad. It's pretty rough. Yeah. I thought I didn't need to understand it and empathize with it because it's what's normal. Isn't that why you should understand it and empathize with it? Understanding what's normal about humans, what's frequent, is really interesting. Nini says there's been more cases of trans athletes losing against their cis peers than winning so far. This will be an ongoing conversation for sure. I totally understand that. However, I will say this. Males have a significant advantage in most situations over females. It's why a lot of female athletes supplement testosterone, right? And here's the thing. Those effects that maleness, the pubescence of maleness has, they're like bone density and muscular acuity and stuff. And so all you need is a couple of years of puberty, and then you transition over and you use feminizing hormones. You get those couple of years of puberty, and you are so many miles ahead of the pack of the biological women that it's not the same playing field anymore. Your bone density, your hip anatomy, your structure. Men are built to move heavier things than women. It's just true. It's just true. You know, there's a solid reason that in our sports, we don't have men fight women in the octagon because they demolish them every single time. The most competent female MMA fighter versus the least competent male MMA fighter, and still the male is going to demolish the woman half the time, more than half the time. And that's a problem. It's an issue. There have been more cases of trans athletes losing against this. I would love some research on that if you've got it. Because I don't know that that's true. Because the high profile cases that we see is more. That's exactly it. That is exactly the problem. It's tough though, because if not in their gender category, then where can trans athletes compete? It's unlikely that there will be a trans athlete category. And more importantly, if there were a trans athlete category, it would be unfair to the trans athletes because they'd only get to compete with each other. And they should be able to compete with everybody. Couldn't they have their own category? The only issue is, do you have enough? Exactly. Or perhaps you could have some kind of time penalty due to how much testosterone. I don't know, because it's not quite clear. We tried to put in regulations around the current amount of free flowing testosterone inside a person. Right? That's our current thing, is like you have to have been on feminizing hormones or altering hormones for like 24 months or something like that, 18 to 24 months. And you must have biological testosterone levels in your blood that are below a certain threshold in order to compete. But here's the problem. Again, you can be totally hormonally feminine in the present, but if you had 3 years of male puberty, your bones are different forever, and your musculature is different forever. And we can't alter that or make it go back. We can't make it go back. And so yeah. And so that leads to another issue, which is this. And this is one of the things that really scares me. And I'm going to state this beforehand. This is going to sound like it's down the path of something transphobic, and I'm really trying not to be. And it's okay if you want to call me out. I'm totally fine with that. But here's the issue. Here's the issue that I see. I imagine I've met a lot of coaches and fathers who believe that their sons and daughters are destined to be great athletes. So here's a hypothetical, and it's just a scary hypothetical. It's bullshit. It's not real. I don't know any instances of this happening. But here's the hypothetical. You've got a kid. The kid is 11. The kid has been doing weightlifting, for example. Male kid, biologically male, has been doing weightlifting. And the kid has some of the talent to be really good, but probably not enough to be the best ever. Male kid weightlifting. Puberty comes up. What's stopping that parent from doing everything that they can to convince that child that child should transition to female in order to become a world champion weightlifter? And the idea is they would have to transition before puberty, right? Because then the effects wouldn't happen. But what if the child doesn't know who they are? And in general, and that's not a good way of phrasing it. I'm sorry for phrasing it so badly. But in general, I see this push toward earlier transition for young women and for young men. Transition earlier, right? Because it's less painful and more effective. The earlier that you transition, the more effectively toward that gender that you become. But I got some questions about that. One of those questions is this. Gender dysmorphia is normal. Gender dysmorphia happens to about 70% of people. Or not dysmorphia, dysphoria. I was thinking body dysmorphia. Gender dysphoria happens to like 70% of people. As puberty hits, you go, what the fuck am I? What's going on? I had this. When I first started sprouting pubic hair, I hated it. Because all my representations of what was sexual or interesting were like smoothness, youth, femininity, all of those things. I hated my pubic hair and my underarm hair. I shaved it off for almost a year as I was going through puberty. I hated it. It felt wrong. But as happens with the vast majority of individuals who experience that gender dysphoria, after a few years and after the hormones start to level out, it leveled out toward male. It leveled out back toward what my biological sex was. So here's the problem. If I, at 11, 12, 13, 14, had gone into a psychotherapist's office and said, I don't know if I feel comfortable in my body, there's a pretty distinct chance that the therapist, in the modern day at least, would say, well, that's a simple fix. You might be trans. Here's some literature, read up on this, and if you check any of these boxes, we'll talk about options for you. And I would have checked those boxes. And in checking those boxes, I would have found myself on a path, a totally well-meaning, no evil here, nothing wrong here. I'm not saying anything about it being evil. I could have ended up on a path that led me toward feminizing hormones or puberty blockers and totally tore me from my biological stacked on top of gender identity, which I have now coagulated into a coherent whole. And I really see a path for myself where I could have fallen down that rabbit hole. So that's what I'm saying. It's a little scary, the push toward pre-puberty alteration of the pathway of a child. I don't know. that's got to be some fucked up parents to convince your child to transition to be good at weightlifting. Then you don't know enough. Then you don't know enough about pageant moms, like pageant moms that take their girls to beauty pageants, and how they destroy their children. And you don't know enough about athlete dads. Like athlete dads who were athletes in their youth but never made it, never quite got into the big leagues, will push the shit out of their kids. They will tear their children up. You see this a lot in like Coach Who Is the Father. Coach Who Is the Father, and they will do awful things to their children in order to try to make them successful, regardless of the health of the child. Bissus says, I definitely would have become trans if I was with the right crowd as a teenager. Totally believe it. I absolutely would have become trans if 5 years ago I had fallen in with a group of people who were heavily pro-trans, because they would have seen my struggles with gender identity and sexuality, and they would have absolutely encouraged me to go down that pathway and explore it. When that's exploration, fine, but that's not what I needed. What I needed was time. What I needed was time to grow into myself and to figure some things out. And what I ended up figuring out is that my socialized identity, my gender identity, and my biological structure are in harmony. And as soon as I figured out that stack, I became in harmony. And so it makes me wonder at how harmonious all of these people are. Because I know a lot of trans people. And I know some of them that are very healthy and very happy. And from the few spectrum of trans people that I know, they are the minority. They are the minority. And a lot of the people who are trans are just as emotionally disturbed and distraught as they were before they transitioned. You see it on 4chan's LGBT board. A lot of the trans people there claim they're aware of the fact that they got groomed into it by wanting to belong. I believe it. And I'll say something else. Groomed might be the wrong word because of the other connotations of it. But I'll say something else, which is this: our society says being male is wrong. Our society says being female is wrong. I would be really careful with the G word here. Yeah, you're very correct. The G word, groomed, is not the word to use. But I would say let's rephrase that. Many of the trans people there claim they're aware of the fact that they got pushed into it by wanting to belong. I'm 27, still haven't had top surgery, but have known it's what I need to relieve that dysphoria since I was 10. I spent these years looking at it from every angle to make sure I'm not misguided. That's fantastic, Nini. That's fantastic. Hey, still, for some, early transition is life-saving, and I do not deny it. I do not deny it one bit, Nini, and I hope that I've done enough to distance myself from the words that I'm saying, to demonstrate that I'm putting on this hat, right, to express an idea that I am certain of. And I do not want to hurt trans people by saying this, or people who are experimenting with it or are uncertain. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you, not one bit. Nini, do you know Ali Beardsley? You know who that is, Nini? I'm super glad you were here for the brew as well, Nini. You've expressed and helped a lot in bringing other perspectives, and I really appreciate it. You don't? Okay. Ali Beardsley is a comedian who works for College Humor, but let me share with you this. This is a piece of media for you to fucking enjoy the shit out of. And Nini, are you a professional athlete by any chance? We need more. Oh, go away. God, fuck, shit. Okay. So here we go. The whole of season 1 of Unsleeping City is up on YouTube for free. Here, Nini. Watch this. It's a playlist. It's a full playlist. This is episode 1 of the Unsleeping City. So here's the deal. First off, the person that I'm talking about is Ali Beardsley. So let me just find this really quickly. Ali Beardsley is a lovely non-binary individual, and they are one of my favorite people on the entire goddamn planet. So this is Dimension 20's The Unsleeping City, and let me find Ali really quick. So this is Pete the Plug. That's Ali. I think this is pre-Ali's top surgery. And so this is fascinating. This is Ali pre-top surgery. This is Ali. and Allie is a they. And this is Allie's character, Pete the Plug, who is Allie's character in D&D. And Pete the Plug is a dumbass, drug-addicted, nearly psychotic individual living in New York, selling drugs to people, and Pete the Plug is trans. Pete the Plug is a trans male. Allie was born or assigned female at birth, to be clear. And this Pete the Plug is a trans male. And this opening scene, the opening scene of the whole show is this character. Yeah, so.
Like the yellow shades, because they're helping me with seasonal affective disorder right now. I am not doing well on the inside. I did go through a breakup. I did lose the one, and she's thriving. But I'm gonna be okay. And
it's cool that I found a doctor that's so cheap. Yada yada. So the character that Allie is playing is Pete, and Pete has just recently had top surgery. So the reason that I bring it up is this. What Allie did is Allie expressed the character and tried on the role of having top surgery and going more into maleness in a D&D game, and then shortly after they wrapped season 1 of the D&D game, Allie went and got the top surgery done. So it's sort of like trying on the possibility in a fantasy space and then representing it. So layers and layers for you, Nini. Layers and layers here that are super valuable are that Allie themself is trans and non-binary and is going through some of the things that you're going through regarding decisions about top surgery, and then is also playing a character who has gone through some of those things as well. So there are layers and layers of stuff. D&D would be an awesome therapy strategy if used this way. Guess what, motherfucker? I use it this way. This is what I do in my D&D game. This is actually what I do. In my D&D game. So I've got 4 players, and one of them, the one who's my roommate, who's become my best friend, he's an analytical mind, and he sees himself as very thoughtful and all of these things, and he plays a wizard who is obsessed with mapping the universe, which is exactly himself. Exactly himself. His wizard is obsessed with making maps and mapping the universe. And that's Morrig Shorefoot, who is a character who is a wizard who is not quite good, who's very much chaotic neutral, who has some, who's half Aasimar or part Aasimar, so has some angel blood in them, but doesn't have the way to like represent those and put them together. My good friend is playing an artificer who's like a fish person. Who's like a complicated fish person, and he always wears armor all over himself, like big suit of armor. He's an armor artificer. And so he's wearing this cultural structured, manufactured entity that is part symbiote and part armor, and is his weapon and is himself. And that's his representation with the world. And he doesn't have any memory. He was dropped here without any clue in the world. And that's a representation of the person behind the mask who's playing the thing. And he's wearing all this armor, and he doesn't know how to let it down, because that's who my friend is. My friend is a person who has a lot of his shit figured out, but he hasn't integrated with it completely, and he hasn't acted upon it, right? And so there are stages to his development that have occurred as he's been collecting items. What he's been doing, his whole story has been this. I got a book called Hammond's Harvesting Handbook, which goes through all of the monster manual, and for every monster, it's got like, well, if your characters have high enough skill checks, can they loot from this monster? So a Chasme, a giant mosquito demon, you can loot like a big tube that's pointy. Right? Or Sturges, which are little tiny mosquito demons. They have little tiny tubes. And so my artificer has taken those and has manufactured and invented hypodermic needles, basically, right? Cool. But also dragon scale and dragon hide and bits of beholder tentacles. And bits of behir hide, which electricity can run through, and all of these elements that he's been gathering for years in the game, right? And he's trying to build them into one new suit of armor, which is to say, one cultural representation of self that is placed upon the self and integrated and is made up of the monsters that he has gone and slain already, is the idea. That's a fucking idea. That's a coat of many colors, right? And so the eventual end game for him is to actually stop separating himself from the armor. Because what he doesn't realize is that the armor is actually a part of him. And he's got this symbiote that's his mentor that lives in his arm. It's like Mercury. It's like a mercurial shifting symbiote, very Venom-y. And it's the thing that lets him integrate with the armor. And there will come a time soon in our sort of final battle of the campaign where he's going to be pushed to the edge and finally is going to be speaking to a deity of some kind. I haven't figured it out exactly. And that deity is going to just sort of laugh at him and go, "It's so silly, it's so simple, you fool. You're already wearing the self that you want to be. Your armor is you. Just let it become a part of you. Integrate with it completely." And he will. And I've got a mini that is on the way. And the mini is like a fish person in armor. The armor is actually the scales of the person. It's like, it's all one thing. It's like half biomechanical cyborgified. And that's what my character needs, is a smash together of both, of the cultural representation and the biological unknown underneath need to mash together. And then my landlord, who plays with us, he's a giant elephant person. He's a druid, and he's a pacifist. He's a non-confrontational pacifist who doesn't get in the way in anything. And it's exactly who that person is in this world, is that the character that he's built is someone who's too standoffish, actually. Who knows the way, who knows how to integrate with nature, who's in this city, who sees things going wrong, and is too afraid of hurting other people, to actually step outside of his own tiny garden and show his neighbors how they should be taking care of their gardens, for example. He's too afraid of being arrogant. And he named his story, or he named his character Rex Minimalis, Little King. Because that's exactly it. He's a little king, a king over a little tiny castle. Fucking fantastic. And then there's Adonovis, my other good friend, he's the one who was chasing tail all the time, right? A total paladin of sex. And that's what he literally made. He made his character a paladin of lust who got tricked by a goddess of lust into an unbreakable contract that altered him, and now he has to live by an oath, which is to say that he was lusty and he fucked a woman and then he had to marry her because they had a child. And so it's exactly a representation of his real life, because that's exactly what happened in his real life. And these are my characters. Binkelderg says, "I do really love the streams, but part of me misses the more concise daily brews without chat distracting you. I always watch them in the morning to pump myself up." I understand, and I miss them too, but here's the thing. To do a 1-hour video that would be a brew would take me 3 hours. Because I would do the 1-hour video, and then I would edit it, and then I would render it, and then I would upload it, and that whole process takes 3 times as long as the actual expression of the thing. So streaming it means that I can have the 3 hours and I can just talk. And I think what we've gone through in this episode has been way, way deeper. Can we have a brew of tea deep dive analyzing our D&D characters? I don't think so, because I might not be able to represent or understand your dreams. I barely understand the ones of these characters that I've been playing with for years. Yidna says, "In regards to what you said earlier about transitioning, I don't think there is enough awareness of the irreversible effects of injecting hormones on the youth, or puberty blockers, let's be clear, because it's not just injecting hormones, it's puberty blockers. However, you're 100% right, and the reason for that is that they're novel technologies, actually. They're really quite novel technologies, and we haven't seen the full lifespan of people who've been on them. And we don't know long-term how the happiness and health of those people will shake out. We just don't know. And that's a sort of we don't know what it is, so we should be scared of it. It's like, that's not what I mean. What I mean is we should be careful. Just a little bit. Just a little bit careful. It really makes me want to try D&D, man. Yeah, Jan. Go try D&D, dude. Go try tabletop role-playing. Do it via Roll20. You can go find people who are streaming it on Roll20. Yeah, D&D sounds fun as a social hermeneutic. Exactly. It gives you a lens. It absolutely gives you a lens. I have 2 friends I play games with and talk to every night who both want to do D&D, but we live 300 miles away. That is no barrier. That is no barrier, Kikuri. Not one bit. 2 friends I play games with and talk to every night who both want to do D&D, but we live 300 miles away from each other. No barrier, roll 20. But also, I wouldn't trust them at all in a D&D game because most games we play together, they betray me. Well, pretty interesting. Nini says, also, though, gender-affirming care and hormones have been used on cis people for a good long while. That's true. That's true. However, they also have massive impacts on people, on cis people. For example, if you're male and you take testosterone or dihydrotestosterone or Dianabol or Anavar or any of the number of androgenic hormones, of various androgens, they fuck your life up forever, actually. Most of the bodybuilders who have used steroids, their hormonal systems are permanently damaged and they have to be on TRT forever. I was born through IVF. If not for hormone shots, I wouldn't exist. Super fair. Well, I never got around to it because I'd be the one forced to be the DM. Rip, dude, that was my problem. Nobody was going to play D&D, so I had to DM, and so I DM'd. So I bought some fucking books, and I started DMing. And I just did it. I made it happen. Nobody else is going to make it happen. Jan says, since I learned so much about myself through my OCs, it makes me very interested if I had to actually roleplay them. 100%. Well, all you have to do is go to D&D Beyond and start trying to make a character. I'm serious. Did you ever play Warhammer? I've never played it, but I'm quite familiar with the game, and I've seen a lot of videos about it because I'm interested in other people's gaming experiences, and I experience them through videos. I'm American, not British, so there's, it's not as popular here. Do you think you'd enjoy being a player as much? Myself, I've always preferred being the DM. I love being a player. I love being a player. When anybody in my group is willing or able to run a one shot or something, I totally let them have the reins as often as possible. I've played a couple of characters in games like that. I played B3. B3 was a Warforged. This was in a Star Wars style D&D game. B3 was a Warforged Rune Knight hyper grappler with the skill expert in athletics, and basically I was just a control tank and heavy armor master as well to reduce some incoming damage. And I had the Rune Knight in large, and then I had something else to embiggen myself. I don't remember what. And then I had the Artificer in our party was able to cast Enlarge Reduce on me, so I went from medium to large to huge. And at huge, I was grappling like huge and gargantuan creatures and just slamming them, just choke slamming giant monsters. The Acklay, the giant, Acklay. This fucking thing, let me show you. This fucking thing. That thing, we fought one of those. Because I rolled a nat 1, we landed on a planet, and it was like, all right, roll just a luck check to see if you run into anything in the forest. And I rolled a nat 1. It's like, oh, you start hearing something big, and one of these fucking runs out of the brush, and my character just turns toward the sound, stands there, embiggens, and waits, and is just ready, and I just ready in action to grapple whatever comes near me, and I smashed that fucking Acklay into the ground. It didn't even get to make a strike on any of us. Smashed it to the ground, pummeled it the fuck open, holding it grappled and prone, and letting my like warlock lightsaber wielder just chop into it like crazy. So much fun. So much fun. And then I played a character who was basically Ash Ketchum, and I called him Cash Betchum, and he was mostly I built Cash Betchum to be broken as fuck. So Cash Betchum had a familiar, a wildfire spirit from Druid, a summon beast from later in Druid, and something else. I think I didn't have the ability to take enough levels to get Ranger Companion up to 3. But I wanted to, so I didn't do that. But anyway, I had like 4 different animals and myself, so I ended up making like 3 attack rolls. One of them was with extreme advantage, or 2 of them with advantage because one of the beasts has pack tactics. It was just like, just demolishing stuff. And then the crazy thing about that is your wildfire spirit can teleport you and any creatures around within 5 feet of the wildfire spirit can teleport you 15 feet to a new space. So we ran up, smash, bash, bash, and then my wildfire spirit teleports in a puff of exploding fire to somewhere else. And it's just like, later, bitch. So I decked him out with Booming Blade. So I would run up, I'd Booming Blade somebody. My Wildfire Spirit would come up. My like War Pig would come up and smash the thing. And then the Wildfire Spirit would teleport us all away. So that in order to re-engage with us, the enemy would have to leave their space and trigger the booming energy. Bonkers damage per round. Just absurd damage per round. Fantastic. Fantastic shit. Oh, let me turn this off. Pal. I bet he never won the championship for 10 years. Yep, Cash Betcham, as expected.
And even if you've got like engagement statistics and stuff, you can get over that by having a bunch of mediocre articles and a bunch of other things to.
So at this point, I think old T was talking about pay-per-click media or like ad-focused media, where all that matters is that the user clicks on the piece of content. It doesn't really matter how much time they spend watching it or whether there's any value in it at all. It just matters that they clicked on it and then you get paid for it.
Right? And if people always click another thing, then you win. You've got high engagement and you've got high click-through. Ha-ha! Holy grail. So then we wonder why the news is collapsing, and the answer is because we're not willing to pay for it. We're not willing to pay for it. So the thing that pays for the news is our attention.
Howdy.
Our attention means advertising, and that means just eyes on the page. And they don't have to stay on the page, really. They don't have to care. In fact, it's better if they're not focused on the thing being read, because that's not the money-making content. That's not where the value is. The value is all around it. And the value's in the banners and the links around it, which cause more click-through, which means the site gets paid more, because you're now seeing a different set, a refreshed set of ads.
D&D sounds a lot like computer
and it
programming.
Also causes more
Odd, I don't see it, but maybe.
You get paid, the site gets paid more, because you look at a single set of ads for longer. And that's what the companies, the advertisers, are paying for is like engagement, like
eyes on screens
over time.
Yeah, it's what
space, like.
Wow, I just wanted to mention this.
Space, like attention over time. Over.
No, old T not discovered the miracle of the hairband. You're incorrect. That T is wearing the hairband. He's wearing this one. He's wearing this exact one. This one right here. He's wearing it.
Space. Like, physical space on the page. A factor of physical space on the page. Time spent on the page and how many people came to the page. And that's just not good. That is just not good. Because none of those things have a direct correlation to
value.
Content quality,
yeah.
None at all. And so there's, and because of the massive.
So I just want to mention this as I walk by. Look how flat my fucking ass is. Holy shit. Look at that skinny ass boy. No wonder I thought I was a femboy. Holy crap.
Work being put out constantly.
Look, you can see the headband. It's right there. You can see that he's wearing that headband exactly. Thinking of the structure of what your players are doing, what they will be doing, and how the environment will affect their journey in the space the game master creates. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're building a system for people to play in. So not computer programming exactly, but system development or systems design is more like it. Yeah, you're correct. It's game design. It's literally game design.
By people who are being paid essentially nothing. Pennies per article to churn out bullshit, and it'll get worse as artificial writing systems get better.
Wow, that's prophetic right there. It'll get worse as artificial writing systems get better. Isn't that the truth? Right? Because if I go right now and I Google well, actually that's what I did yesterday. Tart cherry juice sleep science. Pilot study. This doesn't come up with it the way that I want it to. Actually, that's what I should do. Best greens supplement. Let's do that. Best greens supplement. Forbes, Very Well Fit, Birdie, Health Canal, Barbend, Bon Appetit, Neswell, Centret and what you'll find as you do searches like this is you'll find that a bunch of the articles are actually totally written by AI. Shit, I'm not finding any. I forgot what I looked for something yesterday, and it was all the articles were AI written, and they were garbage. They were garbage. Best gifts Black Friday. Yeah, pops up a bunch of articles that are AI written just grabbing stuff from Amazon lists. Just trawling. Fucking crazy. Okay. You ever lurk on TG? No.
They'll be more and more able to piece together things that could be a coherent article. But the point I'm making is that the art of coherent thought, the art of stringing together a coherent argument is becoming lost because we're devaluing it. And I think that's horrifying. I think that's truly horrifying. And if we don't stop it, we're all going to die.
Have you ever tried butterfly sweet pea tea? Nope.
Let me get real close up to the camera. I mean, if we don't stop it, we are all going to die. Like, that's where this leads. And
wow. If we're unable to articulate our thoughts effectively, we're all gonna die because we're all gonna end up in chaos.
You can call that reactionary and you can call that insane, but
that's this
I would like
headband.
to posit that
it's actually funny. You can see that that's not this headband. That's the first iteration because it's not as tightly wound. See how tightly wound this is? How small the curls are? This is as tight as it can get. That's the first iteration. Interesting. Someone watched End of Ava. I actually had not seen End of Ava when I wrote this, man. Or when I said this. Binkelderg, that's what's crazy. I had not seen End of Ava when I said this. I hadn't seen Evangelion at all. Damn. Yeah, damn, right?
Instability in true
because this is pre-channel. This is before what we're watching right now. This is me before the channel existed, and I watched End of Evangelion for the first time on the channel. How long ago was this video for you? More than 4 years. More than 4 years ago. Let me see if it's dated. 2018. This is February 23rd, 2018. That's wild. Yeah, it's wild.
Like fall into.
I've been on the same path for a while, man. Been on the same path, and I've been right about the path so far. Because what we're looking at right now, this is the me that decided to start the channel. This is my experimenting. How old are you here? Well, it's 4 years ago, so I'm 24. I'm 28 right now. I figured you were on YouTube longer than that. Nope. Been doing this for 3 years and some change.
Human chaos has happened before. It led to like instability in true like fall into human chaos has happened before. It led to the Dark Ages.
It led to the Dark Ages.
And what happened was a fundamental collapsing of the social system, right? Something
and the systems
like
of belief.
And it led to the Dark Ages and the fall of the Roman Empire, the main ordering force in everywhere.
Great fall of an empire.
It led to the Dark Ages. And I would like to posit to you that a change of similar magnitude in our present day would lead to somebody pushing the button.
Nuclear war.
Every moral and social argument and conversation that we have needs to start with the one truth, which is that
nuclear war.
If things get bad enough, somebody could push the button. Mm-hmm. And if somebody pushes the button,
we all die.
All the nukes are let loose.
We all die forever.
All the nukes are let loose. All the people are dead. And if all the people are dead, there's no coming back for that, and there's no coming back for conscious life. Not for not for another cycle of evolution up. Like, there's no chance. Zero. So
let me step back for a second, because that sounds a little bit crazy. That sounds a little crazy, but here's where it comes from. That comes from debate logic, because in policy debate logic, what we do is we attach things to impacts, right? So you say, well, if we do my opponent's plan, if we do my opponent's plan, that's going to cost a bunch of money, and that's going to upset the economy. And if the economy is upset, that's going to lead to global instability. And if there's global instability, that's going to cause big problems. And the biggest problem that it could cause is thermonuclear war, which would be the loss of all life on Earth and the permanent destruction of everything that we have. And that's an unacceptable thing, right? That's the worst bad. That's the worst it could be. And you can also link it to, like, well, this will cause rapid climate change and climate destruction, and that will lead to the ecological destruction of the Earth as well. You can do other similar things on the same level, but once you state that as, like, that's the end game, if we do this wrong, you have to argue in those terms. You have to argue on the level of the potential for the end of all mankind as an impact. And that's a pretty useful way of framing things, because it's not just like, well, the economy might collapse, but who cares? It's like, well, everybody cares, and you should care.
of all the things that we need to avoid, that is the greatest one. And if we're busily tearing apart our social fabric, the impact that it leads to is that one. And so whatever you think about the people on the other side of the spectrum for you, or from you, they're not pointing nukes at you yet.
The Reds and the Blues.
And whatever you think about the people outside our country, they are pointing nukes at you, but they haven't pushed the button.
Yes.
Okay? And our world is built on a trust where one group says, I won't push the button as long as you don't push the button. The other group says, I won't push the button as long as you won't push the button.
Right.
And because we're not lying, because we're telling the truth, and we know how to do that, and we know how to trust, we're all alive. And if that falls apart, if the meaning of things falls apart, we go with it, man. That's it. We go with it. It's over. It's ogre. Like at that point, it's all ogre. And
it's all ogre now.
So this is serious business. Like getting something to happen is serious business, and I think it's going to happen whether I say this or not. Right? I think it's going to, but
when I'm saying something to happen,
I'm convinced that the place where I can do the most good in the universe is here in front of this camera saying these things to you, even if I do not understand them completely yet. Something like that.
That's a good place to leave off on watching this video. Well, let's listen to what he just said again.
The most good that I am convinced that the place where I can do the most good in the universe is here in front of this camera saying these things to you, even if I do not understand them completely yet. Something like that.
And look where I am. It's 4 years later, and I'm sitting here in front of this camera saying the same damn things. You're doing just that. You're damn right, Nini. So that's pretty interesting, right? I go back and I look at myself from 4 years ago, and there's a little bit of cringe, just like, what a skinny fuck. And there's a lot that's like, oh shit, right, I'm on the same path. I haven't strayed too far, have I? You know, because I set a direction, and the direction was like within this realm, within this wide. This was my direction. It's all in here. And now my direction is like here. It's like here, because I've just stepped forward a couple of years, but I'm still going the same fucking direction. I'm just a little bit closer, and I can see a little bit more clearly. And I've gone through a couple of oscillations back and forth. Gone through a couple of oscillations as we oscillate toward certainty. You got any video from an even further time? I do not. This is about the oldest that I have a video of myself, really. The closest thing, I mean, I've got a couple of school photos, and I've got a couple of pictures from various trips that I've been on that are incredibly old. I've got a couple of those, but that's it. This is as old as it gets for me. And that's about right, because this point where I started recording these videos is about where I started. This is about where I started, where the me that you know came into being. Because I wasn't this person before that. I was a lot more confused. And I was still trying to be a programmer. And I was still trying to manifest change in the world in different ways, and I was a lot more confused. And so I came to a couple of ideas. It's a really amazing thing to share with us too. Reminds us we can all move forward on our dreams even if we don't have the footage to look back on and see the change that's happened. Super true. And what I would say is start recording. Start recording, whether it's in a journal or in a notepad on your computer or something. Start recording your deepest, most important thoughts so that you can look back at them. Because you experience time in this weird way, and if you don't record anything, it just flows past you. But if you record it, you can look back and you can see where you've come from. Epic Hero says, 4 years later, you're articulating in the same direction and you're able to communicate your thoughts better. I think so. I think so, true. I think so, too. I think I'm doing it, man. I think I'm on it. And so, well, this is really interesting because it's very, very interesting to me. Because over the past weeks and months, as I've been changing the channel, a lot of people have been going like, no, you're going away from the thing that is at the center. That is the reason I started watching you. That's the reason you started the channel in the first place. And that's not true at all. That's not true at all. I'm closer to where I was than where I am now. You know, I'm moving in a direction toward what I had correct in the first place. I'm more aligned with where I was at the start of the channel. Especially with things like the early access thing. Like earlier in this video that we watched, old T was talking about value for value. Was talking about the way that we express our content. And the way that having certain payment schemas for our content, like if it just getting clicked on is what makes it valuable, how that corrupts the content itself. And 4 years later, you've got T moving away from a corrupting schema of content, which is to say that having early access on my content corrupts my content. It actually does, because it means that getting the content out on time is more important than getting out good content. And that's not correct at all. That's not correct at all. Getting out good content should be the most important thing. And it should, maybe it can't, and maybe I'll fail, but it should work like this. If I make really good content, it will resonate with you. And then if I go, hey, so I made this thing, and I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something out of it. Please, 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 if you did, give me a few dollars so that I can eat and continue to make this content. That's how it should fucking be, man. That's how it should be. And now I'm there. And since the moment that I did it last week, since the moment that or 2 weeks ago that I made that change in the Cyberpunk Edgerunners video, and I really shook my life up, and I was crying on camera, thinking that this would be the end of everything. And it has been. Like, my Patreon is down at the end of the month, but it's always down at the end of the month. I don't know. It's also up. I made $700 after that video in annual subscriptions. $700. That's not fucking nothing. There's a huge jump. The number of patrons on my Patreon is up. That's a huge jump. I don't know how. It's all fluctuating. But that's it. It's like, I had to do it. I had to be more aligned with my real, closely held, truest ideals. And now I am. I think. I really believe you'll always be supported in your endeavors as you continue forward in alignment with yourself. I really believe it too, Nini. I really fucking believe it too. And I'm pretty sure we're about to explode. I'm just waiting. I'm just ready, okay? The opportunity will come. And I'll be ready for it, and I will step into it happily. Elevone says, I think even if we threw out every nuke, though, 90% of people would die. It would not kill the species. The nukes are all targeted to certain limited areas. The global radiation wouldn't be fatally high. You're missing some things. You're missing nuclear winter, man. Elevone, you're missing nuclear winter. Look into it. It would block out the sun. It would block out the sun, Elevone. It would make the Earth uninhabitable for all but the most resilient forms of life, and for the few people who made it into deep underground shelters. That's what you're missing. Is you're missing decades and decades of nuclear winter that kill everything. You're missing it. The studies and the predictions and the models have been done. Like, you don't actually need that much of the nuclear weapons in the world to go off. You just need about, it's a pretty small percentage, and that's enough to end. Doesn't matter. Shit, I disconnected. Disconnected, reconnecting, connected. Okay. That would be enough to end life on the planet. Yeah, I gotta pick up journaling at least three pages a day. I wouldn't say just at least 3 pages a day. Here's what I would say. I would say 1 word a day. Nini, the smallest thing that you can do. 1 word. 1 word. Business says, I've been watching since the treasure hunt days and I like the new direction. Me too. Hey, I actually have something that I thought about that. That's, okay, something fucking crazy. Something fucking crazy that I realized that I totally forgot. Here's what's up. You know how I've got this compunction against watching newly airing shows? Right? I've got this thing where I'm like, I don't watch shows that are newly airing because I don't do it. Okay. There are reasons for that, but a lot of them are lies. A lot of the reasons that I've given for them are actually lies. And here's why. Here's why. I give the reason. The reason is because, well, and there are some good reasons too. Some of the reasons are like this. When you watch a show that's currently airing, you don't know how it's going to end, and a lot of currently airing shows end up being trash. You also get sucked up along the hype beast thing, and so you end up watching whatever's most popular now, not what's best, not what's most interesting. But at core, those aren't the reason why I was doing it. This is. When you watch something live, you can't put it in early access, and you can't exploit your audience. Why? Because if you're watching it live as it's airing, you need to post the video as soon as possible to be part of the flow of the videos coming out. Otherwise, nobody will watch it. And that means you can't make it early access and exploit your audience. Well, you can look at a lot of reactors who do, but you shouldn't. So guess what? Now that early access doesn't exist, I have much less resistance to watching things that are currently airing. And you know what else is interesting? When you watch things that are currently airing, you get more viewership. And you know what else might be interesting? If I had more viewership and was watching, for example, what if I transitioned one slot, and I transitioned it from, well, I already have the slot. I have the current-ish slot. You know what I mean? It's the slot where this thing just finished and it's really good. What if I opened that up to currently airing things as well? I'd probably get a lot more viewership. You know, for example, I'm not going to do this. I want to be clear. I'm not going to do this with Chainsaw Man. It's too hypey. It's too hyphy. I don't want to do it right now. And I'm on Mushoku Tensei already. We're there. We're already doing these things, right? And Cyberpunk as well. We're there. But what it means is that maybe when Cyberpunk ends, or maybe when Mushoku Tensei ends, I might transition one of those 2 slots into a currently airing or recent shows slot, and I might allow recent shows to be on that poll, and I'll bet you my viewership on all shows across the board will skyrocket, and I'll bet you my ability to connect with and communicate with new people who are stuck in the hype flow will increase as well, and I could introduce them to the way that I analyze content, and they would never find it otherwise. And that's something else a lot of people have mentioned, and somebody else mentions it down below. Funnily enough, says Kikuri, the first time I ever saw T was on one of those multi-reaction amalgamations, which had some people moaning to cut his part since he was talking too much during the video. Fair enough, right? But that's true all over, is that those multi-episode reactions are a huge way that I've been found by people, and I don't get put in them anymore because I don't watch currently airing shows, and that's a bit of a problem. It's a bit of a problem because it means new people aren't finding my content as much. So I'll bet you anything that if I start watching the top tier show each season, and I watch that top tier show as it's airing, and I make the videos public the day that the episode comes out, and I air them right on the money, I'll bet my viewership and my Patreon and everything will skyrocket. I'll bet it will. Attempting to stay up to date on a seasonal anime also encourages consistent output. Hell yeah. Speaking of pay, did you think of a way to donate to you? Hold on, let me just do a thing. Let me figure it out. Give me a sec. Today the word will be live. Nuclear winter isn't 100%. It was a theory pushed during the Cold War to try and create fear. It relies on nuclear firestorms to push the ash. It partly does and partly doesn't. It's the ionization of the atmosphere as well. PayPal donate button. I'm just gonna get a donate button, okay? Give me a sec. Can I do this without doxing myself, please? I've already doxed myself. It's fine. Change name. That's what I would like to do. Ah, shit. It has to be on your official ID. So I would need a PayPal business account. That's okay, I can do that. Look and sell like a pro. Tiaboo YouTube. That's me, that's me, that's me. Next. Add a profile photo. Okay. Tia logo. This is in documents. Sorry that this is taking a second. This is just gonna take a second. Tia prof pic. Tia prof pic.png. No, I don't want to open it. There it is. Add a profile photo. That's me. Great. Excellent. Save. Cover photo. Tia banner. Tia logo background is the one. Tia logo background.png, that one. Come on. Come on. That works best. I think without a friends and family donate, it might take a % off. I don't know. Something that I should add to that is I should add some crypto links, a Bitcoin link and an XMR link, because I have the wallets and stuff. Finish and create profile. Done. Let me see. Preview. Preview. Yep, that's me. It does dox me a little bit. That's how your profile looks to the public. Great. Share your link to get paid. So let me look at this. PayPal.me/Tiabu. If I just do that without the thing, that comes up. Yep. I feel a type of way about crypto these days. I do too, but there are a lot of people who feel a different type of way, and so I would like to be able to reach them. PayPal.me/Tiabu. Pow. At Epic. Hero. Here. There. That's me now. Shit, dude. Let me go to YouTube Studio and make that a part of my default. I'll just put it in for all the things. Settings, upload defaults, the basics, support the channel, and donate, Patreon, and donate, and the basics. Is there a shortened link for docs.google? Oh, I can just use goo.gl. Replacing it with Firebase dynamic links. Okay. I don't want to deal with this. Create a short URL. For consumers, goo.goal console. Oh, it's gone. Okay. Use Bitly or Owly. I will do that, actually. I don't want to use Owly because it costs money. Can I use Bitly? I don't want to sign up. Fuck it, I'll just leave it as it is. Save. Very good. Link works for me. Yeah, it gives me his page with a pay button at the bottom. Maybe because it says Tiabu versus Tiabu. Link works for me as well. What about this? What about that? Does that work? I don't know. Also, I'm setting up a PO box. It turns out I had to get a piece of I had to get a piece of a thing. I have to get some documentation in order to set it up properly, but I'm setting up a virtual PO box so that y'all will be able to send me stuff, and I'll be able to get it redirected to me without you knowing where I live. And it'll cost me like $10 a month, and I'll be able to do box openings, so you can send me shit. How sick would that be? Hey, I received $5 from somebody whose name I'm not going to say. So that worked. That worked real good. What kind of stuff would you actually want sending? I don't know. I mean, I figure people will send me tea. People will send me, like, teacups and stuff. People will send me weird anime regalia. People will send all sorts of stuff. It's like what the SOS bros get sent and they unbox, or what, a bunch of people who do these. A bunch of people who do these do unboxings and stuff. I don't see you doing those American Eats Foreign Sweets reactions. Yeah, probably not. But if you send me stuff, I'll look at it and I might talk about it. I'd be interested. Send me books. That would be cool. Hey, send me a book that you want. I don't care. Maybe I'll make up an Amazon wish list as well. American eats foreign whey protein? Lol. That's great. Maybe I'll put together an Amazon wish list with some things that are for the channel. That are the sorts of things that I want, like a NAS and 6 14 terabyte hard drives, you know, stuff like that, the things that I actually need. A new audio interface, XLR cables, that kind of shit. Have you seen the guy who eats foreign MREs? I have, actually. That's pretty cool. I have actually seen that. Alright, just looking at my Discord. He regrets the Chinese one, says worst days of his life after eating them. I believe it. Okay, I gotta head toward wrapping up. We're heading into a 4-hour brew, and that's a lot. Enjoy the tea. Thanks for the brew. Thank you. Look, this has been a really fun one. We talked about all sorts of things and went into a deep dive on my fucking history and past, which is crazy. Thanks so much for coming and joining and watching this. Support the channel and my continuous ever stumbling forward into better me-ness and better you-ness. I want nothing more than to point at the most fun things and interesting things that I find. It's all I want. And it's what I've been doing for years, sitting here in front of this camera. And it's what I'm doing in every moment of every day in order to improve myself so that I can do it better. I am aligned. I am aligned more than I've ever been. And all the change and chaos that some of the people hate, they gotta learn to deal. Because change and chaos is what we're gonna be in, man. We're gonna be in it forever. Because I like it here. I really like it here. And it's gonna get more rigid. It's gonna get more structured before it gets more insane. But it's gonna be back and forth and all over the place. Close to chaos, exactly. It's like what I said at the very beginning of the video that we just watched of myself. What I do is I let myself fall apart a little bit and in order to get closer to the darkness. It's what I did a couple of weeks ago when I got deeper and closer to the exploitative sex work, the OnlyFans girls and the cam girls and the literal prostitutes that are all throughout Tinder and all throughout these dating apps. I wanted to get closer and I wanted to understand what was going on there, and I did, and it hurt me, and now I'm stronger. Because that's what I do. I go toward the pain, and then I share the experience with you. So, thanks so much for watching. It's what makes it worthwhile. Support the channel if you can and want to. Comment down below. Likes and subscribes and stuff. Really good. And massively, massively, massively thank you all for spending the time to be with me and to listen to some of what I have to say and to criticize what I have to say and to comment on it. I appreciate you all, and I love you all. Thank you so much for being. See you tomorrow for the next brew.